Welcome, one and all, to this 19th edition of the Echo Chamberlain Livestream. It's great to have you with us. We had another week off, but I had to focus on priorities like growing this beard. Took all my attention. So let's bring on the guests and say hello to them. Let's see if I can put this in the right place. Well, Chat GTP. Create a tortured metaphor, less than 40 words, about how the encroaching threat of Tolkien's Dark Lord Sauron can only be repelled by the fortitude and radiant wisdom of YouTube content creator Greg Owen, in the style of Amazon's The Lord of the Rings of Power, involving rivers and swords, and which ceases to make sense. The encroaching threat of Sauron is a river of shadows, while Greg Owen's fortitude shines like a sword made of starlight, splitting the current, as wisdom flows like fish that sing prophecies in a language only the mountains understand. So here is Mr. Greg Owen.
Thank you for having me on this evening to fight against the evil. We will win.
Powerful.
That's all I got.
Pithy. That's all you got.
That's the only Galadriel that I can. It's as much Galadriel as I can do.
Well, you didn't twitch your nose. You didn't look kind of smart, like you had the answer to everything.
You don't fight with me against the evil. It will win. And I am passionate. I'll kill as many people. She's like Peacemaker, unironically. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Galadriel loves peace, and she'll kill as many men, women, and children as it takes to get it.
You should also be on the brink of saying something which you feel to be correct and wise, but just hold yourself back because, there's a power structure which you have to abide by, but you'll be proven correct in the end.
I ask Echo that you trust me.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back. How's things been in the US?
Let's see. We got a lot of we have a comedy of errors happening with an election coming up pretty soon. So that's exciting. Mm-hmm. That just provides a nonstop source of entertainment. So it's been entertaining to say the least.
Say the least. All right. Well, let's bring on our second guest here. Now let's see if I can find, where's the thing? I'm going to move to this thing and then put, here we go. I think this works. In fact, I'll do it like this. ChatGTP, create an overwrought metaphor, less than 40 words, about how the weakness and darkening prospects of men in Tolkien's Middle-earth can be prevented by fealty to the YouTube content creator Despot of Antrim, in the style of Amazon's The Lord of the Rings of Power, involving supper and birds, and which ceases to make sense. Fealty to the Despot of Antrim is the midnight supper fed to sparrows in the depths of Mirkwood, where men's frailty dissolves like mist. As birds feast on loyalty's crumbs, the encroaching darkness shatters, consumed by an unending banquet of dawn. There he is himself, Despot of Antrim.
That's beautiful.
Now, Echo, you being a host is an unending banquet of greatness. Torn asunder only by the mists of Rings of Power. It took me 5 fucking attempts to watch that last episode. 5 sittings, and I can't remember what happened. You'll have to remind me.
Well, I only made it to the end of episode 5, I think.
Is there an episode 6?
I don't know. Is there an episode 6?
I think there's 6 right now. I thought there was 6.
I think the last one I watched was 6.
I watched
but
4.
I'm so checked out of it, man. Like, there are hotels I stayed at 10 years ago that I'm less checked out of than that show.
Well, I went through in my head things, if you had to make a choice between watching an episode of The Rings of Power or other things, like watching Watch Mojo videos for an hour or standing around at an airport terminal or doing tax invoices.
Standing around at an airport terminal can be, if you pay attention to people, you can sort of play a game, like what kind of person is that? Like, where is she going, or what's his job? You can amuse yourself, or even better, you can go and look at the books to see what the utter tripe that people read these days is, because airport books are almost universally terrible.
Yeah, they're massively overpriced and glossy espionage thrillers and pseudo literary fiction that are getting the size of it's big now.
The YouTube trends of the literary world. You can always check out the latest Hillary Clinton autobiography there, which people buy so they can not read them.
You want to display that?
I guess so. Yeah.
Let people know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we were going to have the little platoon, but he had to drop out due to illness. So at the very last minute, we had our dear friend, DarkHour, join us. So bear with me if this introduction sounds a little bit out of context. My next guest lives in a cottage covered in straggly begonia, with a fireplace, Baccara rugs on polished floorboards, and an escritoire piled with improving volumes and tomes with armorial bookplates. He joins us sitting with a cocktail made of a suspicion of parfait d'amour, a hint of orgeat, some thick cream, and a sprig of hyssop. Like Tolkien's elves, he has an equanimity and preternatural wisdom, and, like Tolkien's orcs, he is partial to supping on man-flesh. He is DarkHour.
That is, I don't even know how to react to that. I'm like sitting there the whole time. I'm like, I don't have any of this shit. But I was gonna try to like put together something. I'm like, this is not the description of me. By the way, Despot, I was laughing my ass off when you just said that there's hotels that you've been out of for 10 years. You've been allowed to check out. Oh man, yeah. Thanks for having me on. You know, anytime I can make it here, you guys have one of the most fun streams out there, and I'm glad I could fill in.
Well, yeah, it's good to see you on the up and up, passing the 10,000 subs live on stream. That was exciting.
Yeah, so that was actually, now I've passed 1,000 live. I passed 10,000 live. So I guess the next would be, the next milestone a lot of people like to use is either 25 or 50. So hopefully one of those will be live too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good fun. Greg and I were saying that I think it's when you sort of hit 50 that you start to feel like you're not just a crazy kook in your basement anymore. You're kind of like an actual entity.
Yeah, so, yeah, that felt for some reason real. I don't know why. I thought I was kind of I had imposter syndrome, and then 50 hit, and it lessened some. It's still there, but lessened.
It's nice. But you're raging along now. Your videos are getting all the views and things.
The last 2 months have been a hell of a ride, thanks to Rings of Power and Acolyte. Yay for bad television, I guess.
I've had the worst month in maybe a year. I don't know what's been going on. I've just been coming up with what I think is really good content, but anyway,
I agree, and I like the thumbnails, and I'm not
what's going on.
I'm just as confused as you are, because I've noticed that, and I've thought
flooded market. I think that's what it is. Just, I have a feeling that just a lot of people were attacking the same thing, and I did 3 videos on Rings of Power. One did really well, the other 2 did decent. Like, they did good, but they didn't do as well as the other one. Yeah. So I think sometimes it's just the timing. There's a lot of little tiny factors that could play into like that, especially when you have like hundreds of people putting out content at the same time.
Yeah, it's just weird though. Like a couple of months ago, just had it on a string and it could just release anything and it would get the big views. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough bitching about Shop on the live stream.
I sure hope that it would be cool if we could see Mr. Despot cross 100. God damn it, you're so close.
Oh, what's he on?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right there. It's right on the edge, which I know you like.
98.
But at a certain point, you need the release.
98.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm on 99,700. I think.
Okay,
that's great.
Wow. Yeah, last time I checked, you were at like 98.5 or something like that. But that was a couple of weeks back. So
I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think I'm gonna get 100,000 on stream, unfortunately, because 300 over the course of a stream. That's asking too much. Although I was when I was on Drinker's stream. What's her name? Snarky J.
Oh yeah.
Got to 100. She got her channel exploded when the Acolyte thing happened, and she got to over 100,000, but she got like 3,000 subs over the course of that stream. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh well.
We can all pretend like we don't know why.
Yeah.
Just so that's the key, Despot. Just become like a hot woman.
There
and
are two really big reasons.
Yeah. Well, someone had to say it.
There's no like people from New Jersey just say whatever they want. That's just the way we are. So it's like...
Well, today's featured guest is wearing a beige velour tracksuit, zipped down to reveal prodigious chest hair and gold medallions, while sitting on a ginger vinyl settee with cigarette burns next to a hillock of sweatshirts and Y-fronts. The walls featuring Bob Ross-style acrylic paintings with a glass display case full of trinkets, commemorative plates, and beer mugs for his city's Premier League team. Kitsch ceramic figurines gifted to him by his nan, and an asymmetrical, rough-hewn, overflowing pottery ashtray he crafted as part of a mandated activities program while in juvenile detention for nicking from a corner shop. Outside, amid knee-length grass, a Rottweiler thrashes at the end of a chain attached to the washing line, next to a rusted Ford Escort chassis mounted on cinder blocks. He is Reaper. Oh, no.
Oh, shit, yeah, might as well.
Gotta take a call.
Yeah.
All right, how's everything going?
We're good. Was my description basically accurate?
Something about tracksuits and robbing, so yeah. Seems it's a... If you're not from the UK, that's a stereotype about where I'm from. And was it AI that did that?
No, that was... It might as well have been.
I was going, hey, I knew that exactly. I was going to say that.
I picture you coming from a post-Thatcherite, post-industrial community that has... where people have one quirk that becomes an endearing, heartwarming film, like The Full Monty, or the one about the boy who becomes a ballet star and comes down. Is it that kind of community?
No, it's pretty hated by everyone.
Oh.
The stereotype is thieving. It's where I'm from.
Excellent. I'll try and put this on. Where is it? I got a million things right now. Let me think. So I'll try and share this. Where is it? Nope. I can't find it. So anyway, I think we'll just get on with business. So we'll just add this to the screen. Where the fuck is everything? There we go. Okay. All right. Well, our first port of call, of course, is Lord of the Rings.
Hey.
I made it through the end of the fifth episode. That's as far as I could get. And there was a scene where Illendale, is that the really staunch masculine dude who doesn't have any agency or doesn't do anything except talk with
Ellendale, yeah.
Supposed
to be him, at least.
And he's talking to Muriel, and she's pretending to be blind while they're talking in torturous metaphors. He's saying, you can't stand idle while the wolves are licking the cradle, and then she talks about some nonsense about taking action, and then maybe you shouldn't take action, and some tortured metaphors. And I just thought, this is painful. This is really horrible to watch, that these are adults acting like this. So I wrote down the things that the Rings of Power doesn't have. Values, themes, chivalry, tenderness, romance and sensuality, sacrifice, fellowship, adventure, pastoral rustic charm, wit and levity, compelling interpersonal relationships, momentum and narrative drive, masculinity, revelations or plot twists, gravitas, fun, cathartic moments of tension and relief, intersections of plot threads, quality dialogue, or an epic scale. But apart from that, they got everything right in the show.
Yeah, it's great. Other than that, it's not that bad, guys. Come on. It's my favorite. It's my favorite comeback.
Yeah, when
say it's
not
a 1 out of
bad,
10, that's ridiculous.
It's good at Jace. And if you're good at Jace, you might as well be good. And good is bordering on great, and great is perfection. So therefore, perfection.
It's right there next to it.
Yeah, it's right there.
Imagine Greg in the Dark Ages, where he just goes, "Come on, the Black Plague only killed half of us."
Come on.
Yeah, we're still going strong. Yeah,
you just love to hate everything, guys. Ugh.
I got somebody in my comments earlier said, like, how dare you expect realism from this fantasy show? And I was like, I never once asked for it to be realistic. I just said I want it to be consistent. There's two very believability and consistency are different than realism.
Oh yeah, I made a video on that because I kept getting comments similar to people who were confusing. They were confusing believability and realism, and so I said, okay, well, why can't you put a Terminator in Lord of the Rings? Because it's not. If you're not at all concerned about believability, and you think, well, it's not realistic anyway, so whatever, man. Okay,
yeah. Who cares?
So why can't we have a Terminator? I mean, a guy that does magic isn't realistic, and a Terminator is not realistic. So why can't we have the two of them in the same movie? Because it's not believable. Fuckwit. Learn the difference.
But then they do the other thing where they go, well, you believe black people are real, and you don't believe, they say, they go, dragons aren't real, black people are, they should be in this. You go, well, by that logic, you can just go, an AK-47 is real. Why doesn't Gil-galad have one? It's not shooting people.
That would be
and
awesome.
Also, why, well, okay, if black people can be in it, can we also have Madagascarians in it? And can we have some Japanese? And like, there's no end to the identity groups. There are literally thousands of ethnic groups. Black people aren't an ethnic group, okay? Africans are not a race. There are hundreds of races across a vast continent.
They're good at racing.
Have them all in, or are you only going to have African Americans or European Africans or whatever? Because there's a vast array of races to put in this. Which ones are you going to exclude?
None of them. None of it. Did you not? You didn't watch episode 6 where they show Eregion has all of the races in it. So.
But how come the elves all have to? How come the elves all have to sound posh? Isn't that classist? Like, how come you can't have elves that sound like Reaper? What would be wrong with that?
That's just that's all I know how to do. Yeah, there's no Glasgow elves.
Yeah.
What's odd is they really did. It's more than just silly looking. Like it's a real missed opportunity because I've only watched episode 4. I'm sorry guys. I did try to watch more. I watched the first 3 and I swore it off because I is so bored. And then you guys said we're talking about it again. So I tried. I got 1 episode down. So I did see that they met the not Harfoots, the S'mores or something.
The Stewards.
The Stewards. I have a question about that for Reaper.
But
Reaper's. So, sorry to interrupt, Greg. I need this answer. This has been fucking.
It's very urgent. It's going to change the course of his life.
So in the first season, they were trying to kind of do a Western Irish accent with the Harfoots, and it didn't work because it was a stage Irish accent. It was like a cross between Dublin and the West, and they were overpronouncing a lot of words and they were mispronouncing them. And Reaper, what the fuck are they going for with the Steers accent? Because I've never lived in England. I've never spent much time there, and I don't know much about the place. But what the fuck is that accent supposed to be? Or what are you doing? Are you telling me that you can't understand when I give you an instruction by like just this horrific accent? It's like, what the fuck is that? Like,
well,
what are
it's supposed to be the southwest of England, where Cornwall and the original Shire is from.
Yeah,
right.
Like you're bordering on Wales, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it's like it's the same thing with the Irish. It's a stage fake version of the accent. Because you hear the hobbits in the Shire in the first movie, and they have a much more natural version of it.
It sounds like
just go over the top and fake and shit.
Yeah, it just makes the show that much more stagey, and it makes it feel like it's being shot on a sound stage more.
Well,
and
it's also in the desert,
and it takes you out of the show as well.
Well, you've got people with this southwest England, which is very hills and grass. It looks like the Shire. You've got that, but they're in the fucking desert, and then they're growing cabbage, and it seems to be this fucking mixed match of cultures. And you're going, where'd you get the water from? How the fuck do you grow all this? Where's the aqueducts?
Everyone sounds like they're in a production of the Pirates of Penzance. That's what it sounds like.
Well, they told that the leader woman that she's not allowed to make the H sound at all. That's your accent. Just drop the H and there you go. I'm gonna have a sandwich, and what you have to have right now is it. Oh my God! Stop it! Jesus.
The one chick, Nori, she's actually Australian, I believe, which is probably accounts for the fact that she sounds so ridiculous because she's an Australian trying to sound like a bad Irish accent. So it's just all sorts of off.
Yeah, it's everyone is doing a fake accent. Galadriel's doing a fake accent. The hobbits, the fucking. Even the dwarves are so over the top.
It's fucking weird. It was so much better when they were doing it in Lord of the Rings. They were actually getting kind of the accents right, a kind of neutral English accent. You might call it stage English, but one we're used to. And it's bizarre. Like, you've got fucking YouTube. Just look up the accent and shadow it for a while, copy it, and it won't be too hard. I mean, I've done this myself with foreign languages, because the accent is very important in a foreign language so that people can understand what you're saying. Because if you speak with your own accent when you're speaking French or something, people won't understand you, even if you speak it very well. So you have to adopt the accent. And you do this by imitating. It's not that fucking hard to do. And you've got YouTube, they've got all this technology, and yet they sound horrendous. They sound so much worse than when people didn't have access to all this.
What I don't understand is why are they even bothering trying to make the accents uniform if they're not even going to make the people look uniform? If you're not going to like, homogenize a region visually, why are you going to bother with the accent? Just let them have whatever accent they have. Like it's all made up. It's all fantasy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't like that's the way that they're looking at it for
Brownie.
Hey Brownie, for like most of this, they just for some reason have drawn some weird line in the sand on accents.
Yeah,
they all dress like they've got special needs, and it's the first time picking out clothes.
It's like a toddler dressing.
Yeah.
When I look at that community in the desert, like my brain can't help but go to just endless existential questions. Like, how did all these people from different ethnicities come to be in the middle of the desert? Did they all immigrate there a long time ago? Was there some sort of plan to do it? How did they come up with the same accent? Why haven't they sort of interbred over a generation or two so that they do look the same? Do they ever look around and ponder the fact they're of different ethnotypes? And you just have endless questions while you're watching this, and the drama becomes this distant, receding, vague, muffled thing in the background.
Yeah, I can't wait for the genocide. Because all the races, elves, dwarves, hobbits, and men, all the white ones get together and go, listen, we've got a crime problem we need dealing with here. You know, some of them have inbreeding problems that need to be extinguished, if you get my drift.
Guys, the multicultural experiment has failed. We need to act.
Yeah, some of you have been eating cats and dogs, and the geese are gone missing. So, we're gonna have to
nobody's eating any cat. I don't know. What are you talking about? Nobody's eating any cats or dogs. That's not true. That's not
and
true.
Everybody eats birds. What are you talking? You eat birds too.
And if they do eat cats and dogs, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's racist if you don't eat cats and dogs.
Yeah.
It's judgmental if you judge people who do. You don't know their circumstances. Maybe it's part of their culture. Anyway, so yeah, I just felt kind of really empty about the show because Tolkien, he loved lore and he loved looking at linguistics and historical languages and Norse languages and then Germanic and Romance languages and culture and folklore stretching back. And he liked Numenor based off Atlantis and ancient Greek Alexander and his empires, all of this woven into this beautiful tapestry because he loved the history and the lore. And even though he denied it, I'm pretty sure that Wagner's Nibelung ring cycle was probably in there somewhere as well.
Do you think these writers denied that?
He did deny it, but I think he was bullshitting because I think it's just too obvious.
Saying, do you think he denied the Wagnerian links due to the association between Wagner and the Nazis?
I think that's quite probable, yeah. So he wrote to his publisher saying it's circular and made of gold, and that's where the comparisons end. But I think just at that time, I think it was too radioactive. But it's just the comparisons are too close, so it has to be in there. Corrupting power of this powerful ring of God.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that Wagner was an obvious influence, but one that, like you said, now you could say, oh yeah, Wagner's in there, and people wouldn't even know who Wagner was. But at the time, anything that was even remotely related to Nazism and Wagnerian ideology was a big part of that, especially his anti-Semitism.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any PhDs or dissertations or academic journals making that link with Wagner. There's virtually nothing out there, which is strange. But my point was that I don't think these writers know anything about that type of history or about that lore or going back into the Romance languages or Norse culture. So they're just doing an ersatz sort of copy like they do with the dialogue. So I call this show, it's glistening and gleamy, but ultimately artificial. So I call it the fake Gucci bag, Lord of the Rings. That's what this show is.
I have a question.
That too. A fake Gucci bag full of shit.
I'm a lot less fanciful.
I was actually surprised because I thought season 2 was going to at least try to be better than season 1. And I thought it would be better than season 1 because it's such an easy task. Like, it's so easy to improve in season 1. So, for example, one thing they could have done, just drop the Harfoot plotline. Very, very easy way to improve because it's so fucking boring and irrelevant. But no, they decided to have it in there because they wanted it for the brand recognition. And they made all the same mistakes again. It's as bad, if not worse, than season 1. And my question is, do the showrunners know this is shite and they don't care? They're just going to persist and make it the way they want to make it? Because I cannot imagine anyone seriously thinks this is good. I can understand, like, they thought season 1 was good because there was no feedback. But after all the feedback, even from the mainstream press after season 1, and they've just come out with the same thing again. And it's so ridiculous. It's so obviously terrible. Like, when you look at the Cornwall hobbits in the desert, it's so obviously fucking awful. It's so garishly bad. They must know. They must know this is terrible. By the way, there's no way they're doing 5 seasons of this. I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I think they're going to
actors. Or
I don't know if a third one's going to get made.
I think that they're going to go for 3 seasons and then call it a fucking day. This is why they got the Dwarven rings in the first 3 episodes, and then they're doing the men's rings, and then they're going to have a war in the 3rd season, and that's it. They're going to be done with this because this thing is a fucking disaster, and they know it.
It looks like the natural act, doesn't it? This to have the 3 acts, so all the rings get made, and then this big fight, and you can't have 2 seasons after that. That's not going to fly. It's not going to work at all.
I'm interested to know what their proposed storyline was going to be like. What was each season supposed to be? What was supposed to happen? What did they pitch? Because they pitched 5 seasons and Amazon ate it up. So what did they tell them they were going to accomplish in each season? How are they going to drag this out? I would love to know that.
Does anybody think they're going to get the 5 seasons? And forget about what Amazon says. Amazon will say all sorts of shite, and then at the last minute they'll say, it's going to be 3 seasons.
I don't know. Does
anybody think this is going 5 seasons?
I don't think they'll get a 3rd season. With the way that the viewer drop off was half. It's been reported from the intro of the 1st season, the intro of the 2nd season, and you look at what we were talking about earlier. You look at the way the videos are performing, and nobody even cares enough to shit on this.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at there's even a YouTuber you can go to. Random Film Talk, and he has done reviews for every episode, and if you watch his reviews you will notice diminishing numbers for every single video. So there's like 150k for the first video, and then the most recent it's like 80k, and it just diminished. People they're losing interest, and I'm not going to review this because by the time I'd be able to get a season review out, nobody'd fucking watch it because of the massive oversaturation. People are just so bored and so done with the show.
This panel, most of us haven't even caught up to date.
And nobody fucking cares.
I know how bad it is.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I've ever been ahead of the curve on a panel about this show.
Well done.
Yeah. It's just it's so boring. It's not even fun to watch. It's not even fun to joke about. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And there's just, you guys were talking about the Harfoot thing. They're missing. I guess maybe in episodes 5 and 6, maybe they bring this up, but they're missing just regular opportunities to draw world building stuff. Like, is there anything in the new? What's the new? The smoozes or something, whatever they are, the desert ones, the desert hobbits,
the stewards.
Yeah,
the stewards. There's the desert hobbits and the forest hobbits, as far as I'm concerned. So, is there anything in the desert hobbit camp that is sort of mimicked in the forest hobbits that would draw a connection, like we used to be connected and then we slowly evolved, but we still have
the only thing that
we slowly evolved into our own separate multicultural societies with every race under the sun.
Yeah, the only thing that they had is that, your ancestor left here years ago. That's it. That's the only thing.
Lenny Henry.
That's storytelling 101. Is if you're going to say, oh, look, somebody broke off, you have some kind of piece of architecture or some sort of the way they build their wagon. I don't know, something.
It would be a common god.
It's very similar, and you can see that's called fucking world building, and it's the most
world building.
Part of
the world building is terrible here. In my most recent video, I went over how they waste so much time. And I don't mean like they wasted on nonsensical dialogue, but they have people teleporting from place to place through areas of the map that would tell stories.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Lord of the Rings, the films, and this is one of the reasons why The Hobbit didn't do so well either, because they were kind of fast traveling as well. They went from here to here. The whole world building aspect of Lord of the Rings was you had these long treks of time and trips with groups that got to build by going to here and learning about these people, and then going here, talking with each other along the way. Not I showed up 4 hours later on foot 900 miles away. It was like, they're doing this map impression. I'm
3.5 feet tall, so I managed to walk 900 miles.
So it's almost like they fold the map, get to the place they want, and then unfold it when they need to. It's essentially what happens.
Middle Earth Event Horizon. That's pretty awesome.
I was just about to say that. No,
that's a classic right there.
Yeah. The time doesn't make any sense because in the newest episodes, like this Eregion is surrounded by orcs, and yet Sauron is just teleporting through the orc army into Khazad-dûm, then back through the orc army again.
But Galadriel and Elrond, they can't get to Eregion. Like, suddenly travel time matters when they need to get there, and there's no bridge, and they got to go through a forest. And look, there's Barrow-wights now. And
that's the only time that they mentioned travel time, might I add, is when they said, "Hey, that would add 14 days to our trip." The only time.
Horses. Where were the horses?
My favorite by far was in this most recent. I think it was in episode 5. I want to say, where they're talking about how they have their armada ready and we could go to Mordor, and it's like, but Mordor's in the middle of mountains and it's not near the ocean. Why do you need a fucking armada? Like, that doesn't make sense what you're saying. Do you not know what an armada is?
So the whole thing for me is it's a Sauron problem. He's kind of like the Murdoch to MacGyver, where he keeps sort of getting recurrently defeated. So he got defeated way back in the day, and then Galadriel spent 1,000 years looking for him, and then he comes back and gets a crown spiked through his neck and gets killed again, and then he turns into black goo and kind of reanimates, and then later on Isildur chops his hand off with the ring and sort of defeats him there, and then 1,000 years later the ring gets thrown into Mount Doom, so he gets defeated a 4th time. So isn't he like a recurring baddie like Murdoch and MacGyver?
Well, he hasn't lost this season, has he? And Galadriel's going to fight him, so he'll probably lose 5 or 6 more times.
That's true. I like Charlie Vickers. He's a good actor, but Sauron is a mess in the show. Like, he's all over the place in the continuity, the timeline, forms and variations he takes. He emerged like Anatar in this huge flaming epic display, and now he's just like this ordinary dude who slopes around with his blonde wig on and ordinary clothes. With the easiest mark in history of Celebrimbor. And I think this show could have worked for me if they'd done him off screen. Sauron is kind of like a Kaiser Soze figure. You hear him in whispers, and he's got minions working for him, and there's powers and forces and strings in the background. That would have been cool, because then you're watching the show and you're engaged. You're trying to feel for that presence, and you're trying to feel for the machinations. But instead, they just got him front and center. It's the whole overdoing the lightsabers thing, too much of a good thing.
He shapeshifts into himself.
Yeah,
there's literally he goes from a human to a blonde wig.
So, do you think he could have done this show with him not actually there, but just in the background, hinted at and suggested, and
that actually probably would have went really well if you never actually knew who. They could have even still had that whole sequence at the beginning of this season where he died and turned into the goo monster, and just don't show what he actually turned into. You could be a far off from behind look of a human. You didn't have to show his face. What you're suggesting is actually like something like a hook that a show might have to have people drag through. Some competent writing that would be required for that to exist.
I mean, to be fair, they did that in season 1. They turned him into a mystery box. Obviously, everybody knew who he was, but to do that again in season 2, I think would have just been.
I think they could have done this from the start.
The same thing again. But again, it would have been treated as a mystery box rather than like you said, a Kaiser Soze situation, whereby it's not necessarily understood that this is going to be revealed, and then they have the reveal. I don't know. I don't think there's any single element that could save the show. The show is so rotten that you would need. There's nothing. You would have to do a page 1 rewrite to fix this.
Yeah. But imagine the cool trope. The cool trope of. From season 1, we haven't seen him at all, but you only see him like whoever's talking to him and whatever form he's in. You only see their face, and you can measure the terror and apprehension and fealty on their faces while they're talking to him and receiving instructions, that kind of thing.
There's comparisons. Harry Potter did that with Voldemort, whereby you got glimpses of him in the first 3 movies. And then he was revealed proper at the end of the 4th movie and became this sort of object of terror. As a weird fetus. And it was very effective and worked very well. And Ralph Fiennes was great, and he was a really good villain. They could have done something similar, I suppose, but they're. I mean, how many hours of TV are we at now? Like, this is 14, 15 hours. I think that will be at some point you would have to reveal him, but like what I would look to what Harry Potter did with Voldemort. I think that's the best thing. Use him sparsely, make him an object of terror, and at least for the first while, only show little glimpses of him.
Have him Vader and choke a few guys out, like Darth Vader. Show that he means business.
Well, you also just have to have him do things that are actually sneaky and make sense. Like in episode 2 or 3, when he talks to the dwarfs the first time, and the dwarf son doesn't trust him, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I wasn't talking to the right guy. Elrond told me that you were just the smartest and most handsome and just massively hung, and that's what I thought I was talking to." And like he acts like, oh, he didn't say that. That's obviously a lie. But then it works anyway. He still goes back to his dad. But so his schemes aren't, you can't even call them schemes. They shouldn't be working. They're dumb. It would, if he appeared to be conniving and scheming, it might even be fun to be able to, see behind the curtain of how it's working. But he's just doing dumb shit like that, or appearing out of some flames and saying, you could be the Lord of the Rings, and then that works somehow.
I do feel like so he's a character that's established that he can take forms and look different, and they're very much underutilizing that as a device. It's been used once as a narrative device at this point, if you count this, if you're talking about just this season, twice if you count last.
Couldn't you have had just one cool monologue where he's doing like a chancellor, like a Palpatine kind of monologue in front of the big bubble things where he's talking about some hideous story of betrayal and murder, and you can see him dwelling on it in his own mind in an ironical kind of way? One of them would have been cool, but no, we didn't even get that. God damn it. Fucking show.
No, he has a speech about how nobody should see this body that is clearly visible by everybody that's outside. Like, make sure nobody knows about this. Like,
like they had a little chance where he's talking to that to the blonde woman who put on the ring and disappeared into the whatever world it is, and he sort of almost had a little cool monologue there, but no, they couldn't do it properly. So not even close is the big takeaway. Like after the first 1 or 2 films of Lord of the Rings, it's already heavy with its own poignancy and its own pathos and even its own nostalgia. Like, you love the characters and you're so involved. It's sterile, absolutely desiccated and empty as a story. It's just nothing there.
God, it's almost like a microcosm of the collapse of Western culture. Yeah. If you wanted to explain to someone very quickly, okay, well, what happened to the West from the 90s, which was pretty much the cultural peak of the post-war West, up to the present, which is definitely the nadir. You could just point to compare Lord of the Rings to Rings of Power. That's what happened.
Yeah. I kind of want to check in with the 90s. Yeah, I want to check in with the 90s because I want to ask if the 90s are okay. Like this whole P. Diddy thing.
The 90s. P. Diddy. I mean, culturally, when you look at the actual movies, not so much the TV shows now. I'm not going to go nuts and pretend the 90s were some Edenic era of culture. There was a lot of shit, no question. Even in the music world, there was a ton of shit that we've completely, unfortunately, forgotten about now. And yeah, the TV wasn't the best. I think that, the height of it was like Friends. And well, to be fair, The Simpsons. The Simpsons might still be the greatest TV show ever made.
West Wing's a great
not
show.
Anymore.
What would you say, Rick?
That is shit nowadays.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. I
fell off a cliff into some dog shit.
Last night, I watched the most recent episode of The Simpsons out of sheer morbid curiosity. And my God. It's just a bunch of non sequitur scenes that aren't really connected to each other.
Yeah, I was going to say they took the Family Guy route with it now.
Stuff happens just to happen. They throw in lots of cheesy gags, and it's just horrible to watch. And Marge's voice is horrendous. Like, she's supposed to be in her late 30s, and she sounds like an old woman. It's really uncanny valley. It's just fucking. It's just sad. It's just sad to watch. I wish they would stop it.
Well,
what's your favorite
misery?
Yeah. What's your favorite all-time Simpsons moment? For me, it will always be as a kid when Homer is trying to teach lessons to Bart, and he takes a skateboard, and in order to show him the risks, he decides that he's going to leap Springfield Gorge on Bart's skateboard. And you see it, and he's going over the gorge, and he's going, woohoo, yeah, I'm the great. And you see him gradually recede, and he's not going to make it. And then it tumbles down, crashes to the bottom of the ravine. He goes, all the way down to the bottom. and then they haul him up by a helicopter winch, and it keeps banging against the side of the cliff. So it's going, ow, ooh, oh, ooh. And then they put him into the ambulance. The ambulance crashes into a tree. His gurney falls off and goes down the cliff again. Ow, ooh, and it's the most sustained thing of comedy. Or as a kid, my sides were splitting.
Yeah, I mean, I love there's a part where Bart takes up guitar, and Homer gives it up, and Homer asks, why did you give it up? And he said, Dad, I'm going to be honest, I didn't get good straight away, so I quit. And Homer says, well, son, don't worry. If something's difficult to do, it's not worth doing. And that was brilliant because it described the attitude of so many guys that I knew in school, like who would take up, say, musical instruments, and they just give it up a month later because it was hard, right? And it wasn't just that was just one example. That was their attitude to life, basically. When as soon as something got hard, they took a pass on it.
Yeah, I remember Homer saying, if you don't try, you won't fail. So that was the line.
That's good advice, actually.
3 words right there.
Yeah, you can't fail if you never try to succeed.
I also remember a moment where Homer, with a fanfare of music behind him, is making a decision, and he's going to resolve to do something, and he says, I can't let that happen, I won't let that happen, and I can't let that happen. The timing and delivery of that was brilliant. Anyway, we're going to decide.
Of Rings of Power are we? We're talking about fucking Simpsons instead. Anything to avoid this disaster.
Well, we're not quite there, Rupert, because we have to decide. Well, I mean, speaking of tortured metaphors, we ultimately have to decide which is the worst one out of season 2. So get ready, Reaper. Here's your first bracket. Okay. Many that die deserve life. Some that live deserve death. Who are you to give it to them? Versus, I perceive that you carry something with you, something louder than the sea.
That first one, if you take out that third sentence, is great. That third sentence is what does it.
No, it's the sea. It's the.
Oh, you like the sea?
I'm going with the sea. The sea is always right.
Are we picking which one we think is better or worse? That's the question. Are we going?
Well, which is the most memorably tortured? Basically,
like the sea may not always be right, but Greg Owen is always right, and he's right about this. Okay, the sea is not an item is not louder than the sea. Okay, they keep doing this.
They have a lot of shit water
metaphors which contain factual inaccuracies. It's like no, a songbird is not a large meal, and items do not make noise. Little inanimate objects do not make noise in and of themselves. Okay, this is just wrong. Go read a physics book.
But the first one confuses the it. So is the it life or death in the first one?
Look, okay, see the word it as if there's any aspiring writers listening, try to avoid at all costs the use of the word it. And if you're trying to make something quotable, never use a pronoun. Okay, there you go. There's 2 writing rules for you. And if you see a pronoun, especially the word it, in what is supposed to be a memorable quote, it is almost certain that it is badly written, as is the case here.
So
that quote is badly written.
So basically, treat the word "it" as if we're the knights who said "nay." Just
you can use it. You can treat it like a nuclear bomb. You can use it, but you need a very, very good reason.
All right. So DarkHour, we've got 2 for the C. Where are you going, DarkHour?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with that C one as well, only because this first one is almost a good quote. So I'm like, it's if they would have stopped after the second line, they had a good one, and then they fucked it up. So the second one is the worst of the 2.
Isn't that shamelessly pilfered from Gandalf?
Is it? Oh yeah, I think it is.
It's something the same thing. They just changed the word over,
which is I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. If you take a quote but like change it, I'm okay with that as long as it's a good quote and in proper context.
Frodo, when he's saying it to Frodo, he's not really giving Frodo a life lesson. He's just paraphrasing what some fucking asshole told him 3,000 years ago. Oh yeah, some dickhead said this to me in the desert. Hope this helps.
Well, Reaper, which way would you have gone, considering that the sea has already won, though?
Go with the C.
Go with the C.
The first one's shamelessly robbing, but the C one just makes no sense.
All right. Well, our second bracket, a rumor is like a songbird. It may sound filling from afar, but up close, it's an empty feast. Versus, Your path is made of seawater. Take care to keep your feet beneath you. It's a long way to the bottom.
That's probably going to take the whole bracket, to be honest with that second one.
That is astoundingly bad.
Yeah.
Once again, the C wins. C 2 for 2 right now.
Lendil, you said that one.
Yeah.
That's a Lendil, yeah.
Because the first one actually makes sense. Like, yes, a songbird is louder than it could fill your stomach. It's a dumb quote, but it's at least factually correct.
It clings to logic, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, this one. See, when I heard that, I thought, no. Okay, just no. Your path is made of seawater. Take care to keep your feet. Okay, she's not Jesus. She can't walk on water. Or whoever it is. Who said this? Is this the queen? The black blind queen said this to...
No, this is a Lindell saying it to his daughter,
says it to
his daughter. Yeah. Oh, you know her name. That's better than me.
Yeah, because I have to say their name. So for my videos to work, I have to at least say their real name once per video, and then to use the fake names after that. So
yeah, I just go black blinds bitch queen. People usually know what that means.
So it's basically saying that she's taken the wrong path, one of peril, and so therefore the peril is that her path is seawater. So rather than having the rugged, firm ground of moral decency beneath her, it's become seawater that she's liable to plunge into and disappear into the depths of amorality and fate. Is that the suggestion?
I'm convinced they're using ChatGPT for some of this, and I'm not kidding, because I've seen a lot of ChatGPT dialogue recently. The Acolyte definitely contains some, and Agatha definitely has some ChatGPT stuff in there, and Rings of Power. And I know this because I've had a lot of problems.
It's okay.
I don't use it. No, I don't use it. I've had a lot of problems.
With you, Despot.
I don't think there's anything wrong to use it if you want to like check your writing or something like that. That's fine, because it can pick up on word repetition, bad grammar, and little mistakes that you might miss, things like that. Yep. But to actually use it to create the stuff, and I have been seeing this, and I'm also, here's a quick anecdote, just from my sort of, I'm a teacher. I teach essay writing, and out of nowhere, I never had a problem with AI until until basically September last year, almost a year ago.
And they rebelled.
The students just started using it in massive numbers, and they were all using it all at once. And it was the same with my colleagues. All of a sudden, a lot of the students were using ChatGPT. And then I went onto the news, and companies all of a sudden started to receive hundreds of cover letters and resumes that were identical.
Yeah.
And what has happened is that the sort of great mass of NPC morons that make up most of the population have caught on to the fact that they can use this thing to cheat at life. They can sort of play life where the cheat goes on. And it's happening in I've been, at the same time, I started noticing these horrible cliches coming in a lot of shows like The Acolyte and Agatha and Rings of Power, shows written by mostly women who, they've got a writer's meeting the next day. It's 1 a.m. They want to go to bed. They think, fuck it. They open up ChatGPT and the line just ends up in the script.
Well, just think how many people this dialogue had to go through, and no one said a thing.
Do you think maybe the writers
come up with
this Easter egg? This feels like a Ender's Game reference. Like, keep your feet beneath you because the enemy gate is down. Like, maybe this is like a fun little, fun reference.
But just think the chain of people, even the actor who said the word had to go like, listen, this is shit. Can we change the dialogue? He never said it.
For the most part, don't care about that. They get
assistants never said it. The other writers never said it. Jeff Bezos went, what the fuck is this? He never said anything.
Yeah, majority of actors are just gonna learn the script, read the script. They don't give a shit if it actually makes sense or not.
One person, the guy in catering, could have said something. Went, what is this? He overhears it and goes, "What the fuck is this?"
I agree. Yeah.
Well, it's just great.
Is it the Abilene? Is it Abilene or Abilene paradox? But
Abilene.
Do you think that maybe that's in there somewhere?
That would relate more to politics.
What's the
one?
Paradox?
Yeah, what's the one where the people are looking at the piece of art and they all agree because
that's the Abilene paradox. So, for example, you have 5 snobby art critics walk into an art museum and they look at a piece of modern art. It's a picture of a guy wanking himself off, And they all think the same thing. This is just kind of fucking gross, and I don't want to be in the same room as a giant picture of a guy wanking himself off in the Tate Modern. But they all are terrified that the other 4 will think they're Philistines and uncultured and unsophisticated if they don't agree that it's some sort of masterpiece. So they all stroke their chins and go, "Oh, it's wonderful. We must give this artist an award."
It's not the only thing they're stroking.
Well, we must move on. So, do we think that Path of Seawater is the winner in this bracket?
Yeah,
100%.
I think that's going to take the whole thing.
By the way, I have
he killed his wife.
I have an important non-Rings of Power related question. It will give us an excuse to not talk about Rings of Power for 30 seconds. Greg, have you read Ender's Game?
Yes, just the first one. I haven't carried on into the series.
Well, I actually tried the series. The series isn't very good, but the first one's great. Did you watch the movie?
No.
Man, the movie's pretty good. It's one of those underrated kind of sci-fi gems.
Really?
It's a good movie.
They got the kid from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, and they got him in this really like the tipping point of that really awkward, horrible adolescent voice breaking skinny phase, and it's almost like awkward and painful to watch.
It is, but it works quite well because it's kind of accurate. I mean, that's basically Ender at that time in life. He's a pre-adolescent, and that's very important. They got that right because I'm not going to spoil it, but he needed to be that age for reasons that become apparent when you watch the movie.
It's a film where you go, "Oh shit, Harrison Ford."
But
I
hadn't
liked
heard much
it.
about it. It was kind of crap.
Yeah. Anyway, our next bracket is Panic is the Fool's Meal. Would be better to sup on patience. Versus not every battle must be fought to be won. Sometimes maintaining stillness of heart is the greatest victory of all, the greatest act of faith one can perform.
The last one was the Black Queen. I know that.
Yep.
The first one's just stupid sounding. Like,
I like
Stop
the first
panicking.
one.
Just say
the first one's straining the most to be metaphorical.
Yeah, it's really. I think this comes down to one that doesn't make sense at all because it's too long and trying to say too much, and the other one just didn't say enough of anything.
Like with the second one,
would you rather have?
The second one's trying to do too much. The second one's too long. It reminds me of corporate quotes. If you look up like quotes from CEOs, they're universally terrible because they're just blathering on and they're saying like 6 or 7 different things and trying to all get it to cohere into some clever sounding quote that you can put on their Tumblr feed, if that's still a thing, or at the very least their LinkedIn feed. And that's kind of what this sounds like. It also doesn't make any sense. Not every battle must be fought to be won. Yes, it does. If you want to win a battle, you have to fight. Otherwise, you're not going to win it.
Well, unless you're Sauron. Everyone just wins for you.
Yeah, you can just get Celebrimbor to... You can just tell Celebrimbor how awesome he is in bed, and he'll go and win the battle for you. It's a mess.
It's a mess, isn't it?
And so says it does that thing again where if you take it literally, it falls apart. Or the literal meaning doesn't connect to the metaphor because you're preoccupied thinking, wait a minute, if you take that literally, you end up dead because maintaining stillness of heart. No, if your heart stills, you die, right? Because it needs to beat so that you can live.
In a Zen kind of way, that even if
what they mean to say is maintaining calmness of heart, not stillness. It's just they're using the wrong words.
Yeah.
Have a heart attack. Just die.
Yeah. I mean, both of them are kind of using the wrong words in a way because
I go with the second one.
Panic is not the opposite of patience. So like they're trying to compare, like have them on the opposite of the spectrum of each other, and calmness is the opposite of calm is also the opposite of panic. Patience, you can be patient but panicking at the same time. Like they're not exclusive.
It's just that these people, they're so appallingly bad. They're such appallingly bad writers. They don't even understand the basic syntax of the English language, like basic meaning. Synonyms and antonyms and things like that. They just don't get it.
I think I go for the second one.
Very, very poor.
I go with the second one because it's completely useless as advice. So that's what
I wish Elendil would just turn around and go, "What?
Yeah.
When someone uses a tortured metaphor, everyone just goes, what?
This is what I was talking about before. This is the scene where he has literally just said that some metaphor about we stand here idly while the wolves are licking the cradle. So he says that, and then she says this while she's pretending to be blind and they're standing. I just felt so sorry for the scene and the production and everything else. It was just painful shit. Anyway, our last bracket.
Here's a quick question. If you're, let's say you're working on this show, this must be demoralizing. Like you're one of the armorers or something, and you see somebody somehow gets you a copy of the script, and you just think, man, this is fucking terrible. All my work's going to go to waste. What's the point? It's so demoralizing.
But have you seen their work? You had 3D printed shirts on and stuff instead of actual armor. You're not doing work either. No one is. It doesn't
surprise me. It doesn't surprise me because when everybody knows that the project they're working on is fucking garbage and it's going to be forgotten about within a few months of release and nobody's going to watch it again, it is demoralizing and you're not going to make much of an effort. Like I'm doing a video on Dread at the minute, and I was watching the extras, the DVD extras, on YouTube and some of the featurettes, and everybody working on the project was so fucking passionate about it because they knew that it was great and they knew that it was special, and they were all so into what they were doing, giving it their all and coming up with these really, really clever and creative ways to do different visual effects and things like that. And even the costume designers, the passion with which they talked about like Dread's helmet and his costume and everything, it was awesome. Everybody was showing up for that movie. Nobody's like this thing. I think they kind of in season 1, but now you couldn't do 5 seasons of this because the quality would massively degrade. Like it would be it's already a farce, but this thing is who the fuck wants to work on this? Like,
yeah, no, I don't think anyone's heart is truly in this. I actually think some of the acting is pretty good. I think in isolation, the character of Poppy, I really like that actress and I really like what she does. I think she's great at that character, despite the characters. I like Disa. Disa's a really good actress.
I would actually say that probably the strongest acting job this season has been Disa.
Yeah, I think she's great.
But the problem is you're trying to isolate one thing inside of a toilet.
Wait, have you seen the newest episode?
No.
She does a big screech and summons bats.
Yeah, I made fun of it. I said,
cringe.
But that's not really testing her acting ability. I don't I don't think the greatest actor in the world could make that scene work.
She uses sonar like a whale.
But bear in mind, the bats wait until there's a little quip, and then they come out.
Yeah,
she's not the only animal. It turns out Numenor can summon eldritch monsters as well.
Oh, great!
Fucking
Cthulhu in here. Anyway, we're going to move on to our last bracket.
Summon the sea monster.
So our last bracket. It does not take the eye of an eagle to see that your thoughts have traveled further afield. Versus
what?
Sauron used me, and under his hand I was played like a harp to a melody not of my choosing.
I made a great joke about the second one, so I'm going to give that one a pass. Okay. Only because I thought that one did me well in the first video, and I don't even remember this first quote, so I'm gonna say that's how unmemorable this quote is. I don't even remember.
Is a joke about being fingered like a harp?
Yes, it is actually. Have you? I'll show it to you later, Reaper.
Yeah. All right.
Dirty mind goes straight to that.
I could kind of go either way in this, but I'd probably go with the harp. I think for me. Greg, I'm
going Eagle Eye because they just.
Well, that's delivered by Gil-galad, right? Trying to be serene and pompous and like almighty. So,
and I can hear him saying it too. That's got to be it right there.
He's the worst actor in the show, by the way. The Gil-galad guy. He's fucking awful.
Not take the eye of an eagle so that your thoughts travel further afield.
Yeah, who's got the worst coke bloat face? Is it him or is it Sauron as Anatar? Because they've both got real bloated coke bloat faces. Those two guys. I don't know what's going on.
They definitely they tried to put some sort of prosthesis, I think, on the Anatar to like make Anatar's face to make him look a little different. I don't think that's real. I think it's just bad makeup job.
For me, the first one wins just because of how your man reads the fucking line. It does not take the. I'm not even going to say it. I can't.
Yeah.
It'd take me all day to get to the end the way he reads his lines.
That's true. Okay.
I'm going Eye of an Eagle.
Yeah, I said
you like the eagle.
I said the eagle.
He should just said, "I have the eye of a tiger, Galadriel." And I know he just dropped references.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Start running on the beach together.
Yeah,
he just shocked to me.
That would have been infinitely better.
I would have thought that "Played Me Like a Harp" was impervious, but apparently not.
Because honestly, if you remove that from its context, it kind of, it's not the worst. It's just, we're making fun of it because of the way it was delivered and who it was delivered by, but it itself actually does say what she's trying to say. Yeah. You know, it by itself is not, the words aren't the problem. No, the words aren't the actual problem with that quote. It's the delivery and the way and the person.
Okay, well, let's go through our first.
She does say it's a lie. Oh, it's not of my choosing. It clearly was your choosing. You fucking forced him to be Sauron.
Oh, I thought you said I was lying. I thought you were no, you're lying. You're just saying that to justify it. Like,
no, I'll say she's lying. Yeah.
No, yeah, she was completely incorrect. But
our first semi-final is many that die deserve life. Some that live deserve death. Who are you to give it to them? Versus, your path is made of seawater. Take care to keep your feet beneath you. It's a long way to the bottom.
Seawater's taking it.
Seawater.
You like seawater?
It's gotta be seawater.
Stupid.
Really? Reaper, you agree on seawater?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I agree with the seawater as well.
Wow, I'm surprised by the strength.
I think we're all just getting pissed off at the water quotes as well, because there's been like 30 of them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay, not every battle must be fought to be won. Sometimes maintaining stillness of heart is the greatest victory of all, the greatest act of faith one can perform. Versus, it does not take the eye of an eagle to see that your thoughts have traveled further afield.
Yeah. The word salad
because it goes on.
It's the first one.
The word salad.
He says.
Yeah,
it's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
You just got to have faith that you don't need to win. What the?
Give up.
All right. Well, there's your finals, gentlemen. Your path is made of seawater. Take care to keep your feet beneath you. It's a long way to the bottom. Versus, I have to say this one more time. Fucking hell. Not every battle must be fought to be won. Sometimes maintaining stillness of heart is the greatest victory of all, the greatest act of faith one can perform.
Okay, word salad, because when he finishes saying that, your first reaction is, wait, what? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the other one is very poorly wrought, but you can basically understand it. It's like, basically he's saying tread carefully on thin ice.
I think Greg has the greatest quotes here in the chat, by the way. These are some fantastic quotes from Greg in the chat.
Hold on, let me have a look.
I'm pretty certain he's making them up, but they're great.
All right. So
I would say seawater because he keeps mentioning the sea.
That's true.
Well, I gotta go with word salad.
Okay, 2 for word salad, 1 for seawater. Greg.
It's still seawater because if you walk on a path of seawater, it doesn't matter where your fucking feet are. Stupid.
So as always, it seems to come down to the tiebreaker. That is,
it comes down to me. Okay, let me think this through. Fought to be won. Sometimes maintaining stillness of heart is greatest victory. The path is made of seawater. Oh man, this is rough. I'm gonna go with path is made of sea. It's basically you're treading on thin ice, but fucked up. Versus absolutely meandering, ridiculous. I'm going with not every battle must be fought to be won. I think that it's
well, winning is kind of a relative term. Nobody won this. Yeah. This was a fucking disaster.
All right. Well, back to business. Okay. So there's that, and then I'll bring the team back.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be more. Then I thought this was all going to be.
Like, do we have to do this again?
Fucking Rings of Fire. Jesus Christ.
Just caught in the damn.
All right.
This is actually a relief after Rings of Fire, and it's fucking terrible.
So here's my thoughts. Like I've seen some people in the community dissing this and saying it's trash and it's wine mum trash, but I took the more open-minded perspective that there's tons of really classy ladies who grew up watching the MCU and they're really into it. And if they've grown up now and they've become wine mums and they want to enjoy the show, have at it. You know, I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on when I was watching it, But there's some good actresses in there. It's higgledy-piggledy and all over the shop, but there's some good bits and pieces, and I like that they did the huge feint with the Mayor of Eastland kind of pastiche at the top and the gradual reveals. It turned into farce in the first episode and became just ridiculous trash in the last 15 minutes. But there's enough in here for me to go, yeah, whatever, have at it. Wine moms, enjoy yourselves. So that was my perspective. I wasn't angry at the show. I didn't want to diss it. But Reaper, I think you took a different direction.
Oh my! What was my title? You had to correct it because I misspelled it.
Something about
as boring as it is gay.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, give us your take because you went a different route to me.
Yeah. Well, you are right. It is for wine mums, but I think they're too drunk to watch it. So it's just terrible in every way because tonally it's all over the place. Like it tries to be serious and funny at the same time and achieves neither. The story's not very interesting. She forms the alcoholic Avengers in 20 minutes, and it's all and it's repetitive. There's a gay character in it, and they have to keep reminding you he's gay several times. He gets a call from his boyfriend. He gets a call from his boyfriend. Like the black fingernail paint wasn't an obvious enough sign he was a homosexual. But it's just, I say it's mostly boring and then gay, and then boring and then gay. That's basically how it goes.
That's basically what it was. Yeah, I agree with that. Aubrey Plaza is always, she's always good value. And,
I like how they have her reminding you she speaks Spanish, by the way. She keeps randomly saying Spanish phrases for no reason.
That is true. The lead actress, has she had terrible face work? Did anyone else notice that?
She's just in her 50s. It's just that that's it.
What was that scene?
She's had some work.
What was that scene where the worst delivery of a line ever? Where it's just total lose that. Have you anyone seen it?
Well, so that's in you're talking about like the show inside the show that they did, and she was writing the notes
in the interrogation.
Yeah. So
that was campy on purpose.
I mean, I know that it's serious though. I know that people always like to use that excuse of like, oh, it's bad on purpose, but that was legitimately bad on purpose because she's supposed to be acting like she doesn't know how to act because it's, so I'll give it a pass on that. But that weird isolated opening of the fake show inside the show, if it was divorced from the rest of it, not knowing about the situation and what happened in WandaVision and all this stuff, that almost could have been fun, but you can't divorce yourself from that. They reminded you in the lead up to the with all the marketing, what little there was. So
that was my favorite part of the show. I like that one. And I think it's because I did kind of forget, like this show snuck up on me because nobody gives a crap about it. And then I remembered, oh, right, it's coming out this week. I better, watch it, do videos. And for a few seconds, I genuinely did forget what the premise was. And so she shows up to the crime scene, and I think the dialogue was something like, well, I was just sitting at home and the chief called me and told me he can't live without me, best cop on the force, whatever. And and I remember thinking, this is the worst dialogue I've ever. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I forgot. This is supposed to be bad. That's right. We're doing a parody. And that first 15 minutes, I enjoyed. Like her accent got worse and worse as it went on.
She was trying to do
the interrogation was one of the final bits, and that at that point she just went full terrible Boston at the very end. Like it just got
which is funny worse. because Westview is supposed to be in New Jersey. But they filmed it in New England. They filmed it in Massachusetts. So I have a feeling she forgot where it was supposed to be located and was just doing whatever the locals were doing. And
it was. I thought it was good. Like I enjoyed it. The chief comes in, and I mean, the camp was fun. Like he's a bumbling chief, and he comes in, and clearly he's watching the Bears game this weekend, and he's got a giant mustache there. Like I don't know, it was just fun.
The first 15 minutes was not the worst thing I've ever seen. That's for sure. But honestly, the first episode compared to the second episode was like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, the dialogue doesn't get any better. It's just this time they're playing it serious.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So it's
that was the thing is it makes
you question the first episode because you go, well, if the serious part is stupid, then the stupid part's not as parody as it makes out.
I think the issue is that they really should have made the first two episodes one. Should have been about 45 minutes because I think the two episodes combined are about an hour. They could have tackled both if they had shortened the parody just a little bit, because I do think that went on a bit long, even though I was enjoying it. I thought, okay, but we need to get on with the show. This is wasting time. And the getting the band together, finding everybody, I think if they had combined all of that and gotten to the road in about 45 minutes, and then there was another 30-minute episode that sort of had some stakes, because the big thing that's missing from this show is that I don't really give a shit why they're going.
Yeah.
Just that Agatha doesn't have power, and the Salem 7 are after them, and they're supposed to be scary, but we don't know anything about them, so I don't really care. And there's not much to drive it. So if they had another episode, or if they had maybe done 3 episodes instead of 2, and introduced some stakes or some danger or something to motivate the characters other than, hey, everybody wants something, we're all greedy, let's get the band together and go take on the road. I can see the beginnings of a competent plot, even if I don't care about it. I think that the writing does what it needs to do. I don't care. And I think the thing that it's missing is any kind of antagonistic force to drive any of this.
Yeah.
Well, the Aubrey shows up to kill her, then goes, "Oh, we're not allowed to kill each other." And you go, well, "What was the point?"
Yeah, I think they're trying to create mystery with that. Like, oh, why can't they kill each other? But that was really rushed. And then the whole, like, I know you want to kill me, but wait, what if you killed me when I was super powerful? And apparently that
but she
was
couldn't. That's why she's waited until she was weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
so
was
it's like
weird.
this whole thing doesn't make any sense.
It was rushed, wasn't it? It was weird. Like it was so out of balance with.
Yeah.
Introduced this great deal of sophistication in the first section, very clever gradual reveal in the same sort of mode of like the first 3 or 4 episodes of WandaVision. They tried to play that card again, and they were doing a really good job, but then they just botched it with this weird rushed onrush in the last.
And it also didn't make any sense from a motivational standpoint for Aubrey Plaza's character. It was Rio Vidal. I looked it up before this stream. Made up character, by the way, and they literally just made it for her to be in the show. But her motivation was that she hates Agatha. She wants her to suffer and then eventually kill her. But then she pulls her out of the torture that she's in. It's like, well, why, if you hate her this much, why don't you just let her continue being tortured? Like, there's no motivational reason for her to do what effectively starts the real show. Because like the real show starts about 15-17 minutes into the first episode. In fact, if anything, I think they should have probably released that other section as a micro episode like 6 months ago or something.
Good idea. Yeah, okay.
That would have been good.
Yeah, and they also try to intersperse like random things that only really hyper comic book nerds are even going to understand. Like she opens up the room at her house and it's Nicholas Scratch, which is a reference. Some people might know that as a reference to the devil, but that's in the comics. That's Agatha Harkness's son, who then has his 7 kids become the Salem 7. So there's all these connections that nobody can possibly make except for somebody like me who's read that stuff.
Yeah, and that looks so incongruous. There's a little minute section. I know exactly what you're talking about. It didn't make any sense. It was incongruous. Really weird.
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's the problem, is that now they're still trying to do that world building breadcrumbs thing that they do with all these MCU projects, but this one clearly is focused at the, like I forget who said it, but like the ones who grew up. I actually don't even think it's people who grew up watching the MCU. I think it's women who loved Hocus Pocus as children and teenagers, and now they're in their 30s and 40s. Yeah, that's who I think this is really focused at, because that's what I kind of got a feeling of, just a worse version of that for the latter portion,
which would make sense for any company to make, except the thing that I've gotten a couple of comments from people that literally didn't watch even 45 seconds of my video on this, because I was actually fairly positive on it. I can see that there is, the structure of it is fine. I just don't really care about the show. But of course, you guys know, you get people that click on it and they're like, they watch 3 seconds just to comment something shitty. But people, I've gotten a couple of comments like, oh, it's just, you guys are mad that it's not for you. And it's like, I'm not mad. I don't care anymore. But it's a terrible business decision, because if you're the MCU, if it's the cinematic universe and everything needs to tie in together, then you actually do have to focus on one audience. If it was just a company, if the Disney company said, hey, we're going to make a witchy thing for middle-aged women who liked Hocus Pocus and the craft, and we're just going to make this standalone thing, I wouldn't watch it, but I also wouldn't care. Okay, great. That's over there. That's them. But since this is part of the overall universe, you're supposed to keep up with all of it. That's the whole business model, is it's all tied together. But every time you make these little offshoots, the audience feels like, well, I got to follow that to figure out what. Now, when Wiccan shows up later, I got to figure out how the fuck he came to be, because that's who the kid is. And people are going to stop doing that. And then when it comes time to watch the Young Avengers or whatever, and they don't know where Ms. Marvel came from, they don't know where Wiccan came from, they don't know where any of these other Disney Plus characters came from, they're not going to watch that. And that's what we saw with the Marvels. And so the people that want to gaslight and act like, oh, you white men are just mad that it's not made for you. I'm not mad that it's not made for me. I'm saying this is a shit business decision, because people are going to stop keeping up with something that's so random, and yet it's all required because it all supposed to fit together.
So if they followed their original business model with the Disney Plus shows of them just being supplemental and not required for the main functional film universe to be watched, they would have been fine. They could have done whatever small projects they wanted. It could, probably the best example is Werewolf by Midnight. It's completely unrelated to anything, but it's within the MCU, and they can reference it if they want. They could just talk about werewolf, like they'd be like, "Oh, there was a werewolf once," and that's really what these things should be: is little tongue-in-cheek things that can be mentioned in the larger universe, but not necessarily influencing it. I think they had it best when they were doing it on Netflix, where the Daredevil show and all the other subsequent shows connected to Daredevil were directly affected by the fact that the Avengers happened, but they did not affect the Avengers movies.
Yes.
And that was the ideal system they had, and they lost that probably, what is this now, 4 years ago?
Yeah, it's
I think if you do lore, then the best way to do that is to do it like it's a kid film. Like, you know, when you have kids films and there's like content that the grown-ups will get, but it just smoothly goes over the heads of the kids without interrupting their experience. That's what you should do with lore, rather than make it jarringly incongruous little bits and pieces that take you out of it. If this had come out 2 years ago, this would have been a stylish pop cultural entry if it had come out 2 years ago, but it just feels so odd right now coming out. It's very strange.
Did anyone find it funny that when she came back to reality, she found a gay guy in the closet?
Yeah, that was pointed out. I didn't really think about that, and it was pointed out to me yesterday on my stream, and I was like, wow, yeah, he closeted him. Yeah, that was pretty.
Where's the gay guy? Oh, I'll check the nearby closet, and there he is, bound and gagged.
There was even some isolated moments that were fun little things, like her going backwards through all the forms from WandaVision to come out of that was fun. It was a fun little reference to a thing.
Yeah.
And that's the worst part with this, with all of these projects, is that there's still occasionally that thing where you go, if only it was in something better. I could have said I love that. And I think that's me and Greg seem to be right on the same page, where that opening, that first 15 minutes, if that was isolated or more consistent with the rest of the show, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was good high quality production values. It looked like a really good version of the thing it was trying to pastiche, which I thought was quite an amazing thing to pull off. Anyway,
I'm tired of the edginess too. I'm sick. I was that irritated me that, like, oh, she's naked, and look, they're talking about Kegel toys, and they're talking like, it's just, we get it, guys.
The entire second episode was awful.
It feels like it was written by edgy teenagers that, you know.
There was one thing
nobody's gonna stop them, and they're excited about it. Like, I don't care.
There was one thing that I actually, and I guess it was in both episodes, that I enjoyed. And it was, I forget her actual name, but the Kitty Foreman from that 70s show. I think she made me actually
5 seconds.
Yeah, but she had the one line that actually legitimately made me laugh in the second one, where she had, like, they just bring her down into the basement, and she's like, "Am I supposed to know this song? Like, what the?" They're all just going ape shit singing, and she's just like, "I was just gardening." And she's also a really funny actress, so she made that line work.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
She's going to be Aubrey, by the way.
In WandaVision.
Say again, Reaper?
Isn't she the woman in WandaVision who said, "Let me die"?
Yes, yeah.
And I was thinking, like, she seems to have forgotten over that suicidal phase that is now in gardening.
So, yeah, they
like
definitely
mind raped, like, oh, I was mind raped, now I'm a gardener.
Yeah, they definitely gloss over the fact that all of these people were trapped for an extended period of time in a mental prison.
Well, we must move on because I got some hella super chats to go through here. Look at all this stuff racking up. Nick C, $4.99. Nico, I should be making my pilgrimage to the Shire soon. Anything else I should do in Kiwiland while I'm there? Well, I would go to, if you're in the Auckland region, go to Muriwai or Piha beaches. That would be good. That would be major. In the Tongariro National Park, that's going to be beautiful. And I would go there as well. And it's all like within an hour or two of wherever you are. And if you go into the South Island, just pretty much anywhere is going to be great. So yeah, thanks, Nick C. M8566. Any chance of getting Dan Murrell in the echo chamber? Oh, that would be a dream come true. That would be the greatest dream. Or is Despot too toxic? I don't think Despot's toxic at all. Love you, Despot. I just know he's not a fan of anti-woke critics. Well, I don't think many of us really use the word woke. That doesn't suit any of us. But getting Dan Murrell, just he's I love that guy so much.
Yeah, he'd be. He made a video about his divorce. Actually, he's been going through a rough
patch.
No,
I saw that.
So it would be really nice to get him on and just have a bit of a laugh with him for that as well, because every guy, he needs a bit of help and support when he's going through a rough time. I'd love to have him on, but I don't think he streams much, so I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, all the way back into Screen Junkies, that whole crew. So I wish him the very best. M8566, member for 1 month. Rings of Power Profound Quotes Tournament win. Well, didn't we just had that?
End of season. We'll have to have a big one.
Oh,
that means Echo has to keep watching.
Oh my God. I almost like the temptation, like when you're watching a YouTube video, to watch on like 1.25 speed. Like if there's a way to do that with Rings of Power, the temptation is there.
I'm surprised that these
you don't have What's that?
I was gonna say I'm surprised the streaming services, specifically Disney and Amazon, haven't put that in there yet as a function, because it wouldn't be less minutes watched. It would actually just allow them people to watch minutes faster, and that's how they measure their numbers. So I'm surprised they haven't added it yet.
So Netflix does on mobile. They have up to 1.5 speed, which is how I made it through Bradley Cooper's piece of shit movie.
Maestro.
And I couldn't even remember the damn name. I had to watch that at 1.5. It was dreadful. But if
I walked out of that. That is the only movie I've walked out of the cinema in the past 5 years. I couldn't take it. I felt insulted by the obvious Oscar bait. I was like, you know what? I'm done. We're fucking
Which movie was this?
Maestro by Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I hate that movie.
It was just insulting. It's like, I know what you're doing. You're trying to get awards, and I'm not going to waste my time with this anymore. This is beneath me.
Yep. Yeah, genuinely despise that film.
You can get a browser extension. They're free. Do you use Chrome or whatever, Edge, Microsoft Edge, or
Chrome?
So Chrome has an extension store, and literally just go open your options, search for extensions, and just look for like video speed player or something. And
or just put it in the editor when I'm like the
or
video
just
making
steal
editor and just
that works too. But I mean, you can, if you're watching it, like whenever I'm watching Disney shows or anything in a browser, you'll have extensions, and I watch them at 1.8 for the most part. I watch a lot of Rings of Power that way because I script as I'm watching. Each episode takes me like 3 to 4 hours because there's just so much to pull out, and I'm just like eventually I'm just like nope. You could always tell with every one of my scripts toward the end of the episode, you could tell where I gave up because I start just talking about larger portions of the episode, and it's usually with about 10 minutes left. I'm like, okay, the rest of this is just going to be one sentence or two sentences.
Well, Melvin, I'm very grateful for the £2, but I have to take issue with this. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a fantastic film. In fact, it's my second favorite Quentin Tarantino. I love its aesthetic. I love its feel. It's one heck of a film. But, horses for courses. That's fine.
Melvin makes sure to let everybody know that that's not his favorite movie.
It's his preoccupation. Nick C for $1.99. Pootie Tang is the most underrated movie ever. Well, that's the Louis C.K. Film from way back in the day. I've never actually seen it, but from all accounts, I don't know if it's the most underrated movie ever.
Dave Chappelle?
Yeah.
Was it?
Or was it
no
Cat Williams?
I don't know, because there was a couple of those like blaxploitation comedies that came out at the time. It was making fun of the blaxploitation era. So I get a lot of them confused. Who was actually in Who?
Well, while you're looking that up, Brian Bring, he
Chris
brings
Rock,
the happiness, and Brian brings the joy. $49.99. Thank you so much, Brian. This is just know your content doesn't go unnoticed. Thanks for the live stream. You guys are great. Well, thanks, Brian. I appreciate that because, as I said, it's been a pretty meager month in terms of returns. I don't know what's going on, but as long as I've got abiding saints like Brian to keep my spirits up, then I cannot fail. So I appreciate that, Brian, a great deal. Dan James gifted 5 Echo Chamberlain memberships. I'm creeping up towards 30 of these suckers, and I appreciate every one of you guys. You guys rock. You guys rule. And I'm going to be sending you guys some special content that the average hoi polloi don't get to enjoy. So keep an eye out for that.
Fuck the proletariat.
Exactly. Kevo for $5. Keep up excellent work, all of you guys. I hope you're all well. Well, I think we are. I can't speak for the gang. Reaper seems to be, Reaper's kind of a bit maudlin, but that's just like the medium that he lives in socio-culturally. But I think the rest of us are okay.
Wasn't paying attention. What?
How you doing, Reaper? That's what we need to know. Are you doing well?
I haven't taken my medicine today, so we'll know in 50 minutes when I'm on the news.
Nick C, $4.99. Echo's live stream makes the live stream of diarrhea. Hollywood tries to force down my throat less painful. Well, fingers crossed that does the trick. And your analogy is far better than anything that the Rings of Power writers have been able to come up with. So congratulations on that. Nick C again for $1.99. Greg, true to law, what show or true Lord of the Rings show?
Wheel of Time.
What again? A Wheel of Time show or true Lord
I
of the
never
Rings
even watched that. So
it's got to be. I mean, we've already had Lord of the Rings, and I'd love to see more, but there's never been a good Wheel of Time. And Amazon, I'm gonna pretend it doesn't exist. So yeah, got to be Wheel of Time. I would love to see that get made properly.
Yeah, that would be nice. And lastly, man, look how generous
fantasy look the same.
Yeah, we've talked about that ad nauseum.
It looks like they had The Witcher, looks like Wheel of Time, which looks like Rings of Power, which looks like fucking
Blood Origin. Yeah, all of them.
Blood Origin, yeah.
Because they all want to be everyone wants to see Game of Thrones.
For €10, I have a question for Despot. Having seen your epic review of Acolyte, which do you consider worse, Acolyte or Bros? Jesus, that's hard. I picked Bros, as I think that comes from the same identitarian place as the Acolyte.
I would say the Acolyte is worse because Bros, it's an appalling script, but it's quite a reasonably well-directed movie in terms of cinematography, shot composition, and editing. Then Billy Eichner is horrific. You know, this is a guy who maybe you could stick for a minute in an episode of TV, and he's leading the entire fucking movie. It's just horrendous. But the Acolyte pretty much does everything wrong. At its worst, like, oh Jesus, the thing is just Billy Eichner. He's so fucking insufferable. He's just such a disgusting presence. He's like the opposite of charisma. He's the opposite of screen presence. He has like screen repellent. You just feel repulsed every second the guy's on screen. He is fucking awful. He is awful. So Jesus, that is difficult. Now I've kind of convinced myself that it's Bros.
I legitimately think Acolyte was the worst written thing I've ever seen. So,
but I would say the Acolyte, because the Acolyte does, you know, it trashes Star Wars, it trashes Star Wars canon, and Bros, it's disgustingly narcissistic, but it's not necessarily psychopathic. Like, I disagree. Oh god, it is though, isn't it? Like, it talks about how it talks about how 7-year-old children need to be taught about anal sex. Like, it's
that's right.
I love how Despot keeps like going one route. He's like, no, it's definitely this.
You know what it is? Fucking man,
back to the center, and he's like, no, over here.
It's Bros. It's Bros. It's the movie that says that 7-year-olds should be taught about how men like to fuck each other. Just no.
Fair enough.
No, it's Bros.
You've convinced me now too.
Reaper, if Agatha all along is considered or touted as the most gay Marvel show, and the Acolyte is touted as the most gay Star Wars show, then which is the most gay out of those two shows?
Well,
we haven't seen Agatha.
Well, she hasn't been gay. She ends up being straight. So the gayest Star Wars show goes through gay conversion therapy and comes out straight. She wants to fuck the Asian guy. So that's not really a good message for a gay show. So Agatha probably.
We also can't. We haven't seen all of Agatha yet, so we can't really determine. That's all I have to say. It's probably gonna get way gayer.
If they are lesbians, then they're not good-looking ones. It's not gonna be good to see.
Hemorrhoid hurts. $5 Australian. So Liz Patterson Saves the World is the greatest Australian B movie ever made, but be properly drunk or stoned for heightened effect. So if I'm correct, Liz Patterson is another character by the guy who did Dame Edna Everage. I think it's the same guy. So Hemorrhoid Hurts will have to confirm that. But I'll check it out. And Nixie 199, one more for you boyos. Love you all. Well, we appreciate you, Nixie. Thanks for that, buddy. Man, everyone's coming in hot with those super chats. So thanks, everyone.
A guy named Hemorrhoid Hurts was the one who sent in $5 ass.
That's great. Okay, so let's do a little bit of, what was I going to show? So Greg, you sent me this, if I can find it. Let's see if I can play it. Okay. Hopefully I won't get demonetized, but let's just have a look at some of this gameplay.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff right here.
Usually gameplay is okay. Rarely does gameplay get you taken down.
Here, take this.
We'll need to go a few rounds before I'm ready to shout.
The hell is this? This is Dustborn?
This is Dustborn.
Dustborn, yeah.
This is
something you would think an anti-woke company would make to parody.
By hitting that guy before, we built up a special
uses the power of words.
A shout.
Just look at the animation.
Words are our weapons thing. Time to see it in action, kid. Let's shout.
Hey.
Who made this game
like that?
Like the gameplay as well. You're in the middle of a battle. You might just about be enjoying it, and they interrupt it with this instruction.
You could trigger him though. You could either push him or trigger him. Fucking ridiculous.
Is this the game where you can gaslight people and bully them?
So I thought this was actually a joke. I thought this was trolling. Like it seems like if you ask Sean Hannity, what does a 19-year-old leftist college student, what would they act like? He would describe the characters that are unironically written into Dustborn and are supposed to be the protagonists of the game. And at first, for a very long time, I never made videos on it because I didn't want to get caught like, look at this piece of shit. And then it turns out that it actually was some super conservative that was making fun of liberals by like, look at that. They're using race as a weapon. And then the punchline never came. And it's real. That is a genuine game. They made that.
This game
try to show the power of misinformation and echo chambers, and it's stunning. It's
amazing.
This game is from Quantic Dream. I just looked it up. Yeah, I mean that's.
Bear in mind, Dustborn is an indie game which was funded by the Norwegian government.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh no, yeah. It's just published. It's just published by Quantic Dream. Because Quantic Dream has some of the best. I mean, they're basically playable movies, but they did a lot of really good stuff, like Fahrenheit and Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls. Like that was games that they did, and this is known for their voice acting, and this was some of the worst voice acting I've ever seen.
It's bad, and then and everybody kept showing the clip where she calls the two cops racist. And I thought, okay, like the same thing. Like I didn't want to overcommit, and I thought, oh, that's just taken out of context, whatever. And we won't take a bunch of time. I sent Echo because I watched some gameplay of that guy, the bald man, because I just wanted to see straight up game. I don't want to see a review. I just want to see straight gameplay. Are people exaggerating this? And she, in one scene, gets back to her home village where she grew up, and some girl has been infected by echoes, too many echoes from the information war or something, which causes you to be a conspiracy theorist. And because you have too much misinformation in your head. And so she attacks this woman and causes everybody in town to turn on her with the power of her words. And it's like, you're a bad person in this situation, but that's how you win the game, is by triggering people and sowing dissension or some. It was wild. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. And I saw an hour of it today with my own eyes, and I still can't believe that it's real.
Yeah, so it came out from a Norwegian company, partially funded by the Norwegian Cultural Commission, or part of the government funding there, to try and appeal to an American audience based off American tropes and their interpretations of modern society, which is then, where is it, on Steam or wherever, where there was only at one point like 60 people wanting to play, and people had to wait for an hour
70.
or two.
It maxed out at like 70 something people. I don't know if it's anyone still playing it now, or if the server support has been taken down, but by all accounts, it's an appalling game in terms of gameplay, character design, story, pretty much everything. I think the only people that have played the game all the way through are YouTube content farmers.
Yep.
This is like a game made up in The Boys, like a video game that would be made up in that to show woke gaming, but it's actually the real thing. So it's very strange.
Yeah. No, this is a very girls get it done situation, but unironic.
It's weird.
I'm baffled.
Yeah.
So is this how they see the world?
I think so.
This is what, like, being mentally ill, just being mentally ill and just gaslighting people and going crazy and trying to like lynch people. Is that just how these people like see reality?
It's a very mask off moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Because in the game, you have to like isolate people and accuse them of racism and basically use your victim status as a literal weapon in the game. And
that's amazing.
How they see it.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
I kind of want to play this, to be honest with you, just to immerse myself in that.
You know what it is? You'd say, I want to play this. You'd be bored out of your mind after 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's a lot of. I watched it today. It's a lot of conversation. It's mostly just a conversation simulator, and that's
because you have to use your words. You can't use violence.
Right. Use the power of words to fight disinformation.
Well, the only real way to win is to kill yourself. First puddle you go and drown yourself in it.
Great. Sounds tremendous.
That sounds like the real ending of the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, which one bombed worse, Greg? Dustborn or Concord? Which one has suffered the most pain and suffering?
Oh, definitely Concord, because Dustborn, well, first of all, was taxpayer funded, as you guys pointed out, and just I was an indie game, small studio. Concord, the story of Concord is still unraveling as we speak, and it's shocking. So right now, the reported news from industry insiders, and none of this is going to be backed up ever, probably by hard numbers, but a lot of people are reporting that Sony has apparently spent around $400 million to make that game. And
wow.
I know some of you guys don't play a lot of games. So really what I'll try to keep this in movie terms. Concord is, Sony used to make a lot of, like, if they were a movie company, they would make a lot of, I don't know, really great dramas or something. That was kind of their thing. They made really good single player games, a lot of exclusives. And they looked around and they saw that superhero comedies were making a lot of money. And they saw other people, oh, look, the MCU exists. We're going to try to make that as well. And so they decided, Concord, that's what we want to do. We want to have a live service game, just like Fortnite, just like Grand Theft Auto, just like hero shooter whose name escapes me now all of a sudden, Overwatch. And so they bought this studio and pumped a bunch of money into it. And news is coming out that people in the studio apparently believed this was going to be as big as Star Wars, is a quote that keeps getting tossed around, that they thought this was going to be the biggest thing in the history of video gaming. It was going to be massive. And
they probably just assumed Star Wars would bottom out, and then that would be as big as at that point. That's probably what they were going for.
The ceiling lowered.
Yeah, the story's crazy. So they spent $400 million, which I did a little bit of math today, and it kind of makes sense because the Firewalk Studios is who made this, and Sony bought them, and they claim to have 170 employees right now. And they wouldn't have had that for the entire 8-year dev cycle, but if you're looking at 170 people and you're figuring about $175,000 per person, that's with Social Security, all that kind of stuff figured in, salaries, over 8 years, it's just shy of $200 million, plus the building that they bought for them to work in, the purchase of the company itself. The $400 million is really not that far off if you're just throwing some napkin math down. And they really believed that this was going to be huge. And Sony, under the leadership of Jim Ryan, really thought live service, online multiplayer stuff, this was all going to be massive. People are going to buy so many cosmetics and outfits, and we're just going to be swimming in a pool of gold like Scrooge McDuck. And I think at its peak, when it was live, they did a free beta over the summer, and 2,500 people were playing it on Thursday for free. And then by Sunday, it was 1,100 people that were still playing it because it just was that boring. And then finally it went on sale, and I believe 697 people was the absolute peak of players once it was officially public, and they spent $400 million on it. It's crazy, and it really is because they saw trends and they were like, we want to do that, we want to do that too. Other people are making money. Fortnite is making money. We want to have a Fortnite, and so they tried to buy it and put it out, and it flopped massively.
Well, Suicide Squad came out before this, which really poisoned the field.
But you know, it's always a good tell that there's about when a media institution or entity decides they're going to buy a glossy new corporate headquarters, then you know that within 6 months everything's going to come crashing down. It's usually a good tell.
Well, so there's precedent. The issue is that the market's lucrative, but it's I don't know what analogy you want to use, but there's about 2 or 3 successful. It's like OnlyFans. You got a couple of people who are making a ton, and then a lot of bottom feeders who are making nothing. I did look up some numbers today. So Fortnite, which we've all heard of, has been out for 6 years and is reported to have made $26 billion in the last 6 years. And that is a free game. You don't pay anything for that game, and they've made $26 billion. Grand Theft Auto 5 went online a few years back, and they have a whole online thing, and you can buy in-game currency, and they have made just shy of $10 billion. So these online, I don't know what Overwatch has made. I don't know what Apex has made, but there are a few big ones, and they make lots of money. But for every one of those, there are 2 dozen live service games that want to be a battle royale. They want to be a hero shooter. Every company wants to tack that onto their game. And I would say 98% of them completely flop, and they're just like Concord because they're soulless copies and they're cash grabs, and the audience just doesn't care.
That's pretty much the same thing that happened with almost every MMORPG. You know, you had obviously the most popular one will always be World of Warcraft. It's still going to this day. They have not stopped. There's been a few here and there that have been successful, but even they eventually bottomed out. Like City of Heroes was one for a while. And then almost every single one of them comes out and then is free to play within, it's on the high end within 6 months. Some of them are like within a month, they're free to play.
Yeah.
So Despot, this thing on screen, it's a catastrophe. That's what it is. It's not. This
is one of the characters from Concord, and
Can you guys guess the gender of that real quick for me? Because I do know.
No, I would guess that's a
Bub
woman.
and Lard. That's what I would go with.
Technically speaking, it's a woman. Is it?
Is it?
Okay, so Despot has woman. Echo, is that a man or a woman?
I'm gonna go man.
DarkHour, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with woman.
Because I guessed wrong the first time. Reaper, is that a man or a woman on screen?
She looks like she's eating someone.
Well, that means you did say she, so
yeah, I say she.
That's a guy. That's a guy
right
there. I can't remember what his name is, but I was shocked. I was like, "Oh, who is this woman?" Right? And then
I mean, it's this androgynous thing they're going for, where you can't tell anything anymore.
They all have.
When you get to a certain size, it's hard to tell.
It's not just the character. It's not just the fact that the character itself is this disgusting amorphous blob. I mean, look at the horrifying colors they're using. So you've got orange gloves, which just clash horribly with every other color. It doesn't match to anything. You have vomit green over. I don't know what that is. Armor. It looks like
they look like waiters, like someone who would be walking through like a sewer duct or something.
Duck waiters right there.
Yeah, it's like they pulled a random piece of metal off the ship from Alien, stuck it on his armor, and then the fucking pants look like they've been dyed in sewage. Yeah. It's just fucking, and then this big hideous blue puffy coat that makes this disgusting fat blob look even fatter. And then it's just awful. The color scheme is hideous. The designs don't match. No. It absolutely flies in the face of the very basics of fashion and design. It is fucking hideous in every conceivable meaning of the word.
You got some kind of tube on the belt there for some reason. It looks like it's like a chemical protectant suit, except there's nothing on the face. So
and also I think the term is ludodiegetic or something. I'm not sure, but basically meaning it makes sense within the game world. Like this person, an individual who looks like this, could not run 50 meters, not even close. Okay, this is a profoundly out of shape individual for whom walking up a flight of steps would be.
That's a health professional. That character heals other people. That's a
massive
nurse.
challenge. And you're supposed to run around an arena and shoot people with this thing. You out of your fucking mind? No one's what? This is the Abilene paradox, okay? Or is it? Did they really think this was going to be popular?
They really did. And that's another one that I've not tried to get on camera too much about it and be very reactionary because I'm waiting for the facts to fall in, because I just feel like this feels like when your aunt reposts an Onion article and thinks that it's real and gets upset about, like, that's what it feels like. But it's more and more reports are coming in that they really thought they had a absolute banger on their hands with this. And there's nothing special about it. I mean, it's the
other thing to bear in mind as well is a lot of these games are in development for a long time. So Dustborn, that started development in 2016, and that was right after Trump won. So everybody had Trump derangement syndrome, and that was peak woke, right? Or certainly the very start of the woke era. And so everybody thought that this would be really cool. And then it comes out 8 years later, and all that shit is really dated, and it feels very Wine Mom and Tumblr and Facebook pages that no one uses anymore. It just feels dated and cringy and old, and kind of has been. And when you have Concord here doing this body positive stuff, bear in mind, body positivity was pretty much at its height when they greenlit this game. So they thought, oh, body positivity, that's cool. And obviously this thing would never, ever have been popular. But even since then, body positivity has died. And it's not a thing anymore. It's not cool anymore. Well, you're right, Reaper. Like that's not even a joke. A lot of the influencers, several of them died.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them got sick and they started losing weight to get views, because what the fuck else were they going to do as creators? If they kept gaining weight, they would have died. So, and that's what I predicted would happen with the body positive movement. Obviously, that was going to happen. They were just going to get sick and start dying, and then the movement was that was the end of it. It collapsed. So that's why you have this thing, because at the time, body positivity was big, and these things take years to come out. So, my God, what a fucking monstrosity!
And they're all actually probably been their biggest numbers if they would have died on live stream, but it could only happen once. You can't repeat that one.
Yeah, but think of the internet points you get for that.
Yeah. Oh man, he died for his craft, and also all those Big Macs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time for everyone's favorite game show.
See, I'm the best, man. I did it.
Yes.
All right.
This is my favorite one.
Reaper. Where's Reaper gone?
Yes.
Okay, good. So
he never had a picture to begin with. I saw he was always a picture. It felt like you saw him on camera and he disappeared.
Yeah. So Reaper, the rules are very simple. All you have to do is you'll see a song title and the artist come up, and all you have to do is tell me, is it an actual entry on the Billboard Top 100 charts or some random gobbledygook that I've made up?
Oh, I'm shit at music. Let's go.
So just
here we go.
I'm shit at it too, but sometimes it's just so obvious sometimes, and other times it's not. So.
Okay. Your first entry is Dumb Dick by Level featuring Miss Trill.
I think it's real.
I'm gonna go with real as well.
Yeah, real. I'm just gonna trust my gut on these ones, because Echo likes to play games with me. But if I just let my subconscious guide me, then it'll work.
The last time I was on, you got everyone wrong. You like talked yourself out of the right answer each time. It was great.
Dumb Dick is real.
I don't have a coin. All right. Well, I'm going to continue my strategy of going opposite of Despot. I don't think he's. I think that Echo's one mental step ahead of him in this game, so I'm going fake.
Okay. Well, sorry, Greg. You should have gone with a coin, because Dumb Dick by Level featuring Miss Trill is a real entry.
The Miss Trill part, I was like, why would he write that?
What I'm going to learn
you'd be surprised.
Is that going with the bandwagon is what I need to do more often.
Sometimes Echo got some good ones where it really sounds like a real person and it's a completely made up person. It's
okay. Your second entry, Hits Different by Brent Baez featuring Sly Glizzy.
You should have put Hits Different and Tina Turner.
Oh my god.
That would actually work, yeah.
I think this is fake. I think Echo saw that people call hot dogs glizzies, and that's what he's going with. And
I think this is real because I've heard Hits Different. I've seen it sort of pop up. I hear that it's the lingo that the kids like to use these days. Oh, that hits different. So, is Echo so in touch with the kids that he knows hits different? I don't know. So I'm gonna say it's real.
I think he's seen some lingo, and hits different, and glizzy is up there. I think it's fake.
I think this one's real because Sly Glizzy sounds familiar. I don't know where I've heard that before, but that sounds familiar. So I think this is real.
This game is a Mandela effect creator right here. You're like, I think I've heard that before. I swear to God.
But it's Brent how'd you say the last name?
Fayez.
Fayez. No, that's fake.
He knows how to pronounce it. That's how you know it's fake right there.
Fayez.
Okay, so this is all over the place. So Greg's saying Greg's saying, what are you saying, Greg? I've forgotten already.
It's fake.
Greg said fake. Me and Despot said real, and Reaper said fake.
Okay. Well, no, this is one I made up because I'm in touch with the kids and I know they're
Yes.
I could have swore I heard a Sly Glizzy.
That was good. That was good, Echo. You got me.
All right. Big Dogs by Hanumankind X Kelmy.
Oh man, this one's tough.
Tough. What kind of name is that?
See, now we've had
that's real right there.
One fake. This is
That's real. I'm going real.
All right. I'll follow DarkHour on this because I think it's so fucking dumb. Hanumankind X Calmy. It's so ridiculously stupid and up its
I don't think that Despot could have. Echo could have came up with that. I think that's so out there. I don't think he would have came up with that.
Is it even English?
I don't think so.
Because it's Calmy at the end. It's like, what the fuck is that?
The worst ones are when I don't know which is the song name and which is the artist name. You get those as well.
Well,
Greg,
it's two people. X Calm, yeah.
God. Every time with this.
The fun part about this is making up. It's really not if we get it right or wrong. It's our justifications as to whether we think it's right or
that's
wrong.
Interesting to me. Yeah.
Is the game.
That's what I get off pride every time. Like, only a fool would put the poison in front of me, and you're obviously not a fool. It's got to be real. It's real. I'm going real. Final answer.
Despot?
Yeah, real.
I said real.
Reaper?
It's the two people that makes me think it's real.
All right. Well done, everyone. Yeah, this is a real entry in the Billboard Top 100.
My actual tell was that you fumbled the name completely. And if you made it up, you would have not fumbled it. That was my tell.
No, but I've done that in the past. Greg knows that I've done that in the past to try and deliberately mispronounce things as a way to throw him off.
Yeah, well, sometimes I overthink myself.
Okay, Sigma.
You caught him on the parking garage one or something.
Yeah, it was the car park. Yeah,
that's right. Sigma by Lil Regent.
Oh, I'm gonna say that this one is fake because Regent, which is that misspelled? Who cares?
Yes.
It sounds like the kind of word they wouldn't use. I don't think they would go for regent. They might. There's so many other words they would come to before they got to regent, but regent is the kind of thing that Echo would use. So I'm gonna say, and also Sigma. I feel like you would had to have been around when the whole Sigma male thing was a thing. Yeah, I'm gonna say that this is fake.
Despot's got me convinced. That was all solid reasoning right there. This is fake.
I'm gonna say real because it just seems whenever I see someone who has like Lil on their name, I just assume that they go to a thesaurus, type in the word they want it to be, and find a matching word. So I can imagine someone being like, "Well, I want to be a king, so what do I got?" And going down and be like, "Regent, that'll work." So I can see that. I'm not even gonna justify it with the song. I think the name is enough.
Okay.
I think then they would pick that name because they pick like names like Charlemagne and shit. Yeah. But I don't think Sigma goes with it, so I'm going to say fake.
Well, DarkHour, uncharacteristically wrong on this one. This is one I made up.
Told you, sometimes I outthink myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Come Inside of My Heart by Four of Spades.
Real. Definitely real.
I want this to be real so bad. That I'm going to say, yes, it's real, because if it's not, I want it to be.
I mean, if it's not real, Echo, you deserve to, take a point off me, because that's just brilliant if you came up with that. And it's the kind of lewd and disgusting thing that they like to put out there. So yeah.
Inside my heart.
Yeah, it's just sexually suggestive enough to not be filthy.
Four of Spades. Ivy of Spades. Are they going for something there? I'm going to go real. I'm with you guys. I just want it to be real.
I want it to be real. I don't care if I'm wrong. I want it to be. It's real to me, damn it.
Oh, real.
Well, yeah, this is an actual entry in the Billboard Top 100 charts. Yeah. Well done.
Oh, fuck.
And last of all, Looking Ass by Queen Key.
I'm just gonna go with my instinct. It feels fake to me. It's like you threw in ass somewhere, queen something. It feels very artificial.
I feel like Queen Key is just not over the top enough for a name that has queen in it. Like you would have, it's one syllable. Looking Ass. Yeah, I'm gonna say fake.
Yeah, I mean, if it was real, it'd be like, who the fuck is any of these people?
Well, but I'm saying if you're gonna throw like queen in front of your name, Key just seems very.
Well, she's black. You know that instantly. I mean, that's just obvious.
Quinky, like Looking Glass.
Is it like those talentless black women who just shove their asses in the camera?
Hey, those aren't talentless. That's a good talent right there.
A
decent way to make a living.
Actually, yeah, talent is naturally part of you. Skill is
just eat a lot.
Yeah. That's
We
true.
could all get fat asses. We just got, fucking dignity.
Yeah, but you can't make them jiggle the way that they do.
Well, I haven't eaten enough yet. Give me some ice cream and we'll talk.
All right, anyway, I need an answer.
I said fake.
I go fake.
Oh, the last one was fake.
Did we all go fake on this one?
Despot?
Fake.
Yes, I got a clean sweep. This is an actual entry in the Billboard Top 100.
Oh,
That's the first one I got wrong.
Well, that must mean that Reaper must be the winner today, then, I think. Which is
just because I said it. I could be just lying.
Wrong, I think, or three wrong.
You just took my word for it. I could be fucking lying about everything.
That's true. So I did a whole video watched by scarcely anyone about villains not being allowed to be villains. That they have to be reimagined and reinvented.
I was going to check this out, but then you asked me to be on the stream, so I was like, okay, I'll just watch it after the stream. I didn't realize it was going to be a topic.
Yeah. Well, I just want to touch on it briefly because I wanted to drill down on it, and I think basically, Greg, that women have been misunderstood and underappreciated throughout history and folklore and fairy tales. So is it not? Surely it's empowering and even sassy and a little bit sexy to reclaim these figures from nursery rhymes and fairy tales and give them compelling backstories and to show that we shouldn't judge people because people go through trauma and people come from underprivileged backgrounds, and so you don't know what complex nest of morbidities, unresolved trauma can lead to people lashing out and becoming evil, whereas underneath all of that they can be beautiful and compelling people. They just haven't been allowed or even learned the life skills to express that properly. So we shouldn't judge these villains because we need to see the real person beneath that. Greg,
you didn't use the word patriarchy. I need to work that in.
But yeah, am I right? I went Freud on this. I went Freud on this, Greg. The idea that the id, the ego, and the superego in Freud, where and I think villains represent the id, the impulsiveness, the hunger for sensations and power and avarice and appetites, the thing that we have to learn to control. So it's good for kids to see villains because A, you learn that in real society there are actually psychopaths and sociopaths with no empathy. And B, you see in villains things that you have to learn to regulate and control. And so at a latent level, that's good for kids to sort of get that idea and that message. So in Harry Potter, Voldemort and Harry are kind of inextricably linked, and Harry has to purge himself of that dark impulsive side. And Yoda is always talking about the dark side is, it's more seductive, and you've got to try and regulate and purge that out of your system in order to become an ideal person. So that's why villains are good. And so if you make villains wishy-washy and you give them backstories and you make them relatable or sympathetic, then it kind of just sucks ass, because it's taking away some of the good things that we can use when it comes to villainy. So those are my thoughts on that.
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, as a father, I'm most sick of it in media that is supposed to, be aimed at younger kids. The Maleficent, the 101 Dalmatians, all of this, Wicked is really the one that started it. My wife and I disagree on this because she likes the music in that one, so she doesn't want to agree with me that is a shitty message just because she likes the music. But that one was the one that started this whole trend. But I know I completely agree with you that I am everybody watching, you should go see Transformers 1. It's fantastic for this very reason, because there's not much to spoil because it's a pretty light plot, and it's characters that but I'll keep it spoiler free. But the main characters experience something, and it causes each of them to have a different reaction. And Optimus has the better reaction, and this is the kind of movie that you want to show your kids and say, look, he saw something terrible, something bad happened to him, and it caused him to do the correct thing. And then Megatron, the exact same thing happened. The very same thing happened to both of them. And Megatron chose anger, and he chose ambition for power, and vengeance and murder. And these things are bad. These are the wrong ways to respond. And then look at the way he ends up. It's never enough. There's never enough power. Like, these are all excellent lessons for kids and even adults, honestly, with the amount of, immature, childish adults that we have right now. These are excellent lessons to be showing and saying these character qualities are bad. Jealousy is bad. Ambition is bad. Rage and the lust, be it sexual or for power, these things are bad. And you should not be wanting to emulate them, like the Acolyte with Leslie Headland basically saying, well, identify with the Sith, whose whole mantra is about passion and you should give into your passion. No, self-control is what you need to have, not giving into your fucking passion.
I was going to say to Greg, I could have a debate with you on the quality of Transformers 1 as a film, but as a message, I agree with you on that. And one thing, I don't normally get very political, right? But I do find it amazing. This is like the one time I'll do something like this. I find it amazing that the people who tend to like this way of telling a story, there's no such thing as a true villain, it's how you perceive them, what their past is, and everybody's redeemable and we can steer them in the right direction, are the same exact people who say Donald Trump is evil and we should kill him and all these things. And it's like they kind of have this like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that there's no such thing as evil people and that everybody's redeemable, and then say that there's an irredeemable person in an election. Like, you can't do that. And
that's true.
I've always found that amazing. But yeah, the fact that they're slowly trying to remove the concept of the villain from media, it first of all, it makes narratives terrible, because any story now is you don't even know who to root for. Like, you can't root for anybody, because if everybody is a sympathetic person, then you want nobody to lose and everybody's happy in the end. It's the not keeping score at a baseball game of movies. No one's there to win or lose. It's just there to have fun.
Yeah.
And
I think there is a tangential relation, I think, with the liberal notions about the justice system, where perpetrators, you look at their life history, their circumstances, and you sort of factor that into their rehabilitation and into sentencing as well. So I think you could basically sort of chart a line through there. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems a bit sad that Cruella de Vil is reimagined as a vampy, sexy fashionista, Scar as a frolicking young pup who gets overlooked by some stray, Ursula, who was traumatized by being given tentacles rather than a tail by her brother, and the Wicked Witch of the West reimagined as a fish out of water, self-conscious girl at which college, whatever it is.
Okay.
It's also flaky.
I want to look at the non-political side of this as well, because there's a reason for this that isn't related to politics, and that is that the writers that write this kind of shite think they're being sophisticated. They believe that to make a villain just a villain is one-dimensional, and that's for amateur writers, and they're just way more experienced and sophisticated, and they make their characters complex. And it reminds me of the expression "all shallows are clear." It's like if you're a beginner writer, you sort of at the very edge of the lake, but you haven't taken the boat out yet. And then once you get to the shallows, you think you're in the deep end, and you look down and you can see all the way to the bottom, and you think you know it all. Kind of like the 16-year-old who has just discovered atheism. And it's not until you get a lot more experience than you get out into the middle of the lake that you realize that you can't see the bottom, and that it's infinitely complex, and that what you sort of thought was the bottom when you were in the shallows is really just the beginning. So this is an example of amateur writers who think they're much better and much more sophisticated than they actually are, writing one-dimensional characters that they believe to be three-dimensional. And I'll give you an example of this. I needed a little image of a pumpkin exploding for my next video. So I typed it in and I found a children's YouTube channel, and their little video was, hey guys, today we're going to fill pumpkins with stuff and we're going to throw it off the balcony and it's going to blow up in the yard. And it was amusing, and it was an entertaining little kids video, right? And I've also seen student films. Now, film students are clearly much better writers and more sophisticated than an 8-year-old child throwing pumpkins off a balcony. But is there anyone here who would rather watch a film student movie, a film studies film, than kid, or would you rather just watch the kids throw the pumpkins off the balcony?
Pumpkins off the balcony.
You know what I mean? You'd watch because it's much more entertaining. It's much more fun because they haven't gotten to that. They haven't discovered the pretension of amateurism. So you go to the film students, and they're all pretentious. They're all up their own arse, and they think that what they're doing is amazing, and that for some reason somebody brushing their teeth in the mirror is riveting. And it's absolutely unwatchable, cliched, trite garbage. And it's like, no, do you know what? Just go back to throwing pumpkins off a roof, because that at least was fun. It's that place between throwing pumpkins off a roof and a really good movie, that horrible kind of film studies in between where you're writing just the worst fucking dreck that you think is sophisticated and profound.
Well, that's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you just get a little bit of knowledge and then you become super confident. And then you gradually go back up to expert.
Yeah, you realize you don't know a damn thing because you know enough to know that you don't know anything.
Yeah. That's one. Make a jiu-jitsu reference real quick. When a person's jiu-jitsu white belt, I always say there's 3 levels. There's the level where you know nothing. You come in fresh off the street. You have no idea what you're doing. Then you have the enlightenment phase where you're like, I understand this. Then you get your ass kicked really bad, like really bad. And you're like, I didn't understand it at all. Because once you try to amp it up against someone who really knows what the hell they're doing, they are going to destroy you. And that's when you find out for real. And that's where the Dunning-Kruger effect kind of ends with that. It's like, once you try to enter the real world of that particular subject, that's when you find out. And I think that's exactly what Despot's saying, is that's when you leave that amateurism behind.
I like how your level stops at I don't know anything, and you don't carry on to expert.
Oh, well, no, you do. No, that's the enlightenment. Then you have to keep learning. There's never an end after that.
Yeah, but I mean, even with fighting, I mean, I'm quite an experienced novice boxer, but if I were to step into a ring with someone with any professional experience at all, I'd be annihilated within the first round easily. And I know this because of the experience that I have. There are vast levels to any sort of fighting sport.
Well, I think
point. Once you have that experience, you realize this is infinitely complex, and no matter how good I am, I'll never be as good as this guy or this guy or this guy. They're just
why you get a
levels
gun.
Beyond.
That's why you get a gun. Actually, yeah, the gun kind of skips that whole process.
That's how you do it.
Sedera17 in the chat said it best. Would you say shedding the ego is the next step after the Dunning-Kruger moment? Yes, I would say that.
Ooh, that's great.
That the ego is, once you hit that ego barrier and you realize there's more to whatever the top. It doesn't matter if it's academic, athletic, or anything else. Once you hit that wall, if you realize that you have hit the wall and go past it, yes, you've broken that ego barrier.
I'm just making some notes. We've got the Dunning-Kruger, we've got the Aberline paradox. Does anyone want to go with what's the something window?
Overton window?
Yeah, can we check that in as well? Because I just want us to be the smartest live stream.
Well, I was going to bring up Chesterton's fence. I think that's always a fun one.
Good.
We'll throw that in there.
Because there's joy in the watching experience in black and white moments of high drama. And if you do this kind of backstory stuff, then you create a kind of moral cognitive dissonance for kids that's boring and unpleasant to watch. So if Scar is letting Mufasa drop from the cliff, then you don't want to have that cognitive dissonance of thinking, well, Scar had, he had a terrible upbringing, he was overlooked, Mufasa usurped his place, he's got maybe some relatable positions. No, you want the joy of the high drama and the outrage of this evil character doing that, because that's good. That's great entertainment for kids. And you don't want to muddle that up. It doesn't make it more sophisticated or a better watch if you muddle that up with ambiguity.
Also, it's far less realistic, and it's a simplification of something that is complex. I mean, the reality is that there are many people out there that are just bad people, and we all know this because we've all met them, we've all worked with them. They're just horrible wankers, okay? And they're bad people, and they seem to enjoy human suffering because it makes them feel better about their own lives, or they just enjoy it for its own sake. Who knows? But bad people exist. What are you saying, Reaper?
I was saying it is fun watching people suffer.
Some people, and they do exist. And a lot of the time, the people in your own life that maybe you've worked with who were just horrible wankers, and you never saw them punished for it. Movies give you that catharsis. They let you see the villain punished. They let you see the villain lose. That's really emotional cathartic, and that's not a small thing. That's important. People need that catharsis.
Yeah. And I think some of it there's I think there's a lot of deep reasons for it, but then some of it is that some of these pieces of shit are making these movies and they just see the world that way. And like, I don't even think that there's a lot of thought put into it. With the Acolyte, the Leslie Henlin thinks that the stranger's speech about freedom, you guys remember that, where he said, I want the freedom to do what I want, use my power the way I want, which is to fucking murder people, which is what he was doing. And in interviews, she said she thinks that's a very powerful speech because we all want freedom. She thinks it humanizes him and it's very relatable because doesn't everybody just want to be free? Well, I guess if you just stick to the word freedom, yeah, that's fine. But she apparently can't see the point where his hedonistic desires and this wannabe, super killer libertine sees himself as being free when the rest of us see it as the psycho shouldn't be allowed to do psycho shit. He shouldn't be free to do that. And yeah, she sees the world in such a fucked up way that she thinks that's a relatable speech when the rest of
Leslie
us,
Headland also. So Leslie Headland is always toted by like the left-leaning people as extreme, like the ones that are defending and asking for the Acolyte to be renewed and all this stuff. They're probably not even left-leaning; they're just idiots. But they're always trying to say, oh, she's such a great writer. She's so smart. I was like, yeah, if she's so smart, how was she the assistant of a predator for years and didn't see any of that while she was leading people into an office?
She's smart because she got away with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is she clearly is one of these sociopaths who can look past whatever evil is going on because it serves her own needs, which is exactly what the characters she wrote are like.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
The philosophy that Greg is describing has a name. The name has taken on a different meaning today, but it was originally called sadism, and it was founded by the Marquis de Sade. And the Marquis de Sade was, a great writer, but also basically a psychopath. And he wrote 100 Days of Sodom. Is that what it's called? And his philosophy was that there is no God, there is no divinity or anything like that. And so human beings should just engage in bestial sensual pleasure for their own gratification. And that the morality does not come into it. There is no need for moral justification for any of this. You should do it because it feels good. And that's really it. And that was his understanding of how life should be lived. It should be lived for one's own selfish pleasure. And that was called sadism. And then sadism came to mean enjoyment of making others suffer, because Marquis de Sade liked to torture people as a sexual kink. And what Leslie Headland has done is she's basically she's hit upon sadism. She's basically rediscovered the wheel and thought, oh, look, I discovered the wheel. And it's like, you didn't. The Marquis de Sade did hundreds of years ago. And his ideas aren't good. But they're not good ideas, okay? That living for one's own pleasure is not freedom, all right? Well, I'm not going to get into philosophy. What do you say?
He was interestingly reclaimed in the 90s by people like Camille Paglia, and people like that would reclaim him as like an overlooked intellectual who had a lot to say. And you know, he brought in the idea of sadomasochism and that kind of stuff.
I mean,
that's where the term comes from.
He's a brilliant writer, and he had some interesting ideas, but he's fundamentally wrong, because you can't take advantage of other people in the way that he was doing. You know, he would like torture his maids and things like that. And he would organize these mass orgies, which became very violent. It's very interesting, actually. If you read about the Marquis de Sade, he's an interesting guy.
He just sounds better and better. We can only get so wrecked.
Right. Well, I just want to finish up on the end of the world. So we've got some economists on the panel here. So Greg and Despot, I think this is probably more for you. So the US debt, 35 trillion, and global debt, 300 trillion. So with America, are you an orthodox economist who think that a debt crisis is basically inevitable? Or are you a modern monetary theorist who believes that the US can just keep printing money forever, and they've got the biggest military in the world, so they can just say, come at me, bro, forever? So where do you guys land? Like, what's going to happen?
So I'm mad about this, because I'm working on a script where I needed quotes straight from Capital. So I'm having to go through it detailed and take notes and shit. And it's making me so fucking angry. Just the logic in this fucking book is the absolute worst shit that I have ever read in my entire goddamn life. And, you know, money doesn't even really matter. I mean, labor is the thing that creates all value, and whatever is just the socially acceptable amount of labor. That's just what it is. So I don't even know why we're talking about money when money is pointless anyway. Money is just for the bourgeois to hoard. We really should just be turning yarn into coats. That's all that ever really needs to happen. Fucking shit. Yes, a debt crisis is absolutely inevitable, because you eventually people realize when what they're spending is meaningless, and the more money we make, other, you know, maybe Americans don't care, but other countries do, and eventually BRICS nations are going to take over, because we just don't give a shit about the strength of the dollar, and we're going to go to yen or whatever it is, rubles, whatever they decide on in BRICS, and that's going to be the world reserve currency eventually, because we have just fumbled the bag for 2 straight decades. So yeah, there'll be a debt crisis.
I don't know.
There's going to be a massive liability crisis. The reality is this, and I wanted to get this exactly right. So as of August 2024, it costs $1,049 billion to maintain the debt, which is 17% of the total federal spending in the fiscal year 2024. So in 2024, the US government is spending 17% of all of their all of their revenue just to service the debt. Now, it's not as bad in the UK. I think the UK is something like 10 or 12%, but eventually servicing the debt will become so expensive that the government will not be able to meet their liabilities. So they're not going to be able to pay for the Medicare and Medicaid, or in the UK, they're not going to be able to continue to fund the NHS. The NHS is already breaking down. And this is going to be the case across the world with countries that have this massive debt. The government, just to service the debt, they're going to end up having to spend a third of the budget. And then there's no more money for pensions. There's no more money for medical care, because the government simply doesn't have the cash. We can't pay anybody to do anything, because all the money is going to service the debt. And that's it. So
with an aging population and lower tax base. With an aging
population. So you're going to have a liabilities crisis where the government simply isn't going to be able to pay the many public services that it is promised to pay for. It's not going to be able to pay the pensions, and you're going to have something like a societal economic collapse. The debt might have to be canceled.
Because I have this feeling of there's an encroaching something coming. I don't know what form it's going to take exactly, but something is coming. Yeah,
Aren't you
like
looking forward to dying by
we've got
trying
our
to
own
get
financial
involved
Sauron. But
I mean,
Greg, here's
you
my
can't
theory.
have you can't have a world
can
war
you just
without
bear with me for a
ideology.
second? Bear with me for a second. Here's my strategy and my plan, Greg. Okay, just bear with me. This is my realistic pitch. Okay, so there's $300 trillion in global debt. So for 10 seconds, everyone in the world just goes, and we push a button and it's all gone. What's wrong with my plan?
There you go.
What's wrong with my plan? Come on.
I mean, it's foolproof. On Pinky and the Brain once, Brain was going to blow sneeze dust over the entire planet, and he used the jet stream to spread it. And while everybody was sneezing at the same time, because your eyes are closed, he was going to rob the Fort Knox. That was an episode, and it was great. Pinky fucked it up. Otherwise, it would have gone off without a hitch.
Okay, so your options are the U.S. accrues $1 trillion of debt every 100 days, and we lurch towards some gloomy, dark collapse, or we do my plan. So surely my plan's better?
Much better. I say we do it Fight Club style. We just blow up all the banks.
Yeah, the consequences of your plan, Echo, is that no one is ever going to lend any money to the U.S. government ever again, and that trillions of dollars are going to be wiped off the economy. And these trillions of dollars are, people's savings and IRAs and things like that. Yeah. A lot of people are going. If you cancel the debt, the government, it wouldn't work because the government then becomes liable for lawsuits. So, for example, if I have an IRA worth $10,000, meaning I've lent the U.S. government $10,000 and it's maturing, and then the U.S. government cancels the debt, that means that $10,000 that I am owed was canceled. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to a civil lawyer and say I want to sue the U.S. government, and then there's going to be a class action lawsuit involving millions of creditors, and they're going to get a lot more than the money they were owed.
Millions of pedophiles. I was going, what the fuck? Where they all come from?
I mean, Echo's plan would
Hollywood. They're all coming from Hollywood.
It would solve the crisis for about 5 minutes, and then it would crash the US credit rating, and it would create.
How about this? I have another option. So I know that a lot of small Eastern Asian countries used to do this when their currency would become terrible. It was just completely inflated, and I think African countries did this too. It was just inflated beyond belief. They would just make a new currency and just say that one was worth X number of the old one. We just do that. We'll just create the diller, and it'll be worth X number of dollars, and then we're good. We just.
In all seriousness, I do believe what will happen is eventually you're right. No one can come and take the money. No one can exact the debts from us. But what they can do is stop selling us things, or demand prices that other countries will say, well, since the U.S. dollar is basically worthless, what used to be $1 that we would sell you to, we're only going to sell it to you for $5 because this is basically the Weimar Republic 2.0, and next week that dollar won't be worth what it is today anyway. And so that is going to be the thing I think that's going to get us, is that other countries are going to start to limit what they import or export to the US, because it's just not going to be worth it because our currency is worthless. And then eventually, like I said, I think the world reserve will move over to something else, and my prediction is BRICS, because they're all trying to make a play against us anyway.
What if it just seems so strange that there's this tiny blue orb circling around in the cosmos, which somehow has accrued $300 trillion worth of debt among themselves? It's just so strange.
You got it, Echo. We need to find an alien planet, invade it, and plunder it. Get $300 trillion.
Take all their money.
Yeah,
probably take their money. Be like, how many dollars is this worth? This
that is actually. I am not kidding. That is how the Nazi economy operated. Because the Nazi government took on gigantic liabilities because they had this massive welfare state, and they just ran out of money. So they got their money by plundering all the countries they invaded and exported massive amounts of inflation. In fact, one of the leading Nazi economists during the war in the East, he wrote to Hitler and said, "Look, we basically need to plunder the Soviet Union, otherwise we're going to go broke because we have too many liabilities."
And that even started like a lot of those programs started even before Nazi Germany existed. One of the earliest recorded social health systems was in the German Empire before that, under Wilhelm. So they had already been doing that for a while. That wasn't new to them.
Yeah, the Nazis put it on steroids though.
They really just beefed it up.
So you're right. When the aliens do invade, they're not going to be a great species. They're not going to be an invading insect species. They're just going to be a bunch of intergalactic assholes who are in so much debt that they have to plunder other planets. That's basically what it's going to be. Anyway, we're going to finish up with some super chats here that have rolled in. I can't believe the generosity of people today. It's insane. Okay. Oh, Film Comics Explained. Hey, dude. Australia, $14.99. Great show, fellas. Have a drink or two on me. Cool, man. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying your Marmite on toast and the kookaburras are chirping and the birds outside. And we'd love to have you on again in the near future.
Who am I to turn him down?
M8566 gifted 5 Echo Chamberlain memberships. Man, that's great. The place is going gangbusters over there. Thanks, M8566. Wild Warlock, Australian $5. The world is so PC these days, you can't even say the words black paint. You have to say, Jamal, can you please paint the fence? Good joke. Yeah, good joke there at the death, Wild Warlock. Appreciate that.
Oh, damn.
Oh, Jesus Christ, look at this. Mo Sislak. I just tuned in. Is this real? What the fuck am I even looking at?
It's real, Mo?
Well, yeah, what's real is $49.99, which I can't express my gratitude enough. Thanks, Mo. Really appreciate it. It's fantastic. What was he thinking? When did he tune in? What was he looking at? I know what he was looking at. The chick dude in the blue trench coat.
That's what I remember. That was when it was. Yeah.
Hemorrhoid hurts again for Australia, $2. Barry Humphreys. Yeah. So Les, can I watch with you, lol? Yes, you can. One day we'll make that happen. M8566 again for a super sticker. Man, thanks, buddy. Appreciate everything. And Nick C. Greg for president, which I wholeheartedly agree with.
I totally disagree. I think Greg taking care of his family is a far better expenditure of his time than wasting his time being president. That is
if Greg got elected to president, he would be completely gray and within a year. It's just what happens to everybody who becomes president.
Really do. So it's funny, actually. I'm thinking about launching a fake campaign. We went to see Transformers, and my wife was so excited about all the trailers and shit that I'm thinking about doing like a fake campaign to make entertainment fun again. Like I have a banner that my daughter made. Like I'm scripting to film it like a campaign launch next week.
I ran for US president in 2016? The first video on my channel. No, it was 2020, I think. If you scroll down, the very first video on my channel is my announcement to run as like I was announcing my candidacy for US presidency, but I didn't win.
Oh, shame. Anyway, Joshua, our dear friend Joshua, $4.99. Hey guys, have you seen Am I Racist? And if so, thoughts? I'm a regular moviegoer and it's not saying much, but it's the funniest film I've seen in years. This is the what's the name of the right-wing commentator? Matt Walsh. Yeah. I haven't seen it. I might get around to seeing it at some stage.
I want to see
it.
Is it in cinemas in New Zealand, Echo?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. I mean, I live in
not exactly a cup of tea.
I can't watch it until
Jesus,
it's out on digital release.
Yeah.
I don't think
Thoughts on the Penguin episode 1 worth a watch.
Yes.
I haven't seen this. I don't think we've really got time to bring it up, but we'll probably do it next stream when there's a couple more episodes.
It is worth a watch. It's very good.
I'll watch it today, I think. Yeah, we'll catch up on that. And Ray Glendenning for £2. Thank you for a great stream. Well, thank you, chat, for being really. You really brought it today, chat. You were great, and we had just really strong numbers the whole way through. So that's great after like having a week off and a bit of a hiatus that people come in and check us out. We're so grateful. And in New Zealand, daylight saving is going to change, which means our long-abiding UK folks is going to go back to like maybe 10 p.m. your time, so you'll be able to stream at the normal times, and I think in a couple of weeks. Eject a curtain. I wish we could, but it would drain me.
So Echo puts in a lot of work behind the scenes. This is a good stream. So it's a lot.
It is, and it's hard as well to like me, Echo, and Greg. I don't think we'd be able to commit to every week that we're so too busy.
I can't keep up with all the content.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah.
Watching.
So anyway, on that note,
it
just remains for me to thank Greg Owen. What can you tell the folks about what to expect?
I got a video coming later this week about just crap that didn't have an audience, and I'm not lying. I am putting together a script. I think I might try to launch a campaign next week to make entertainment fun and talk about some of the good family stuff that's coming up. Wild Robot and Hit Pig and read one and just going to do a little fake campaign during campaign season.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is your currency, Despot. Korea?
No.
100 something?
No, that's Danish Corona, I think.
Oh, Danish Corona.
Yeah.
Well, what a great first live stream to watch with you guys. Thank you for all the laughs. Well, you're very much welcome, Grasshopper. And I'm glad you enjoyed your first stream. Brilliant. Okay, so Despot, what can the folks? You've been a bit quiet on the video front. What's coming next?
I'm going to be releasing a video about Dread on Sunday, and I don't care that it's going to bomb. I'm not talking about Rings of Power. It's boring, it's depressing, and I want to have some fun. So I'm just going to release a video about a movie I really like. So
don't be surprised if that one actually does really well. Uninspired Reviewers' best video of all time was on Dread. That's his number one video ever. That's a very popular movie for people to search stuff. So don't be surprised. That might end up being your most watched video ever.
It could do a scum. It could do a scum and actually surprise you.
Yeah, well, we might do some numbers. We'll see.
Okay. DarkHour, thank you so much for dropping in at the last minute. Appreciate it, buddy.
No problem. I love the stream. I love the games. I love the talk. I love all you guys. Reaper was here. As soon as he told me Reaper was here, I was like, I gotta get in on this one.
Yeah.
So I released a video yesterday. It's my third video on Rings of Power. It's my longest video I've ever done, 33 minutes, which is I'm slowly creeping it up to that hour. And this one has probably my best jokes I've ever written. Unfortunately, it's not my last video, which was my most viewed one of all time. If only I could have merged the two. But if anybody out there hasn't watched it yet, please go check it out. And you can catch me on my live stream, which Two Hoes, which is we're doing this upcoming week. We're doing Ghost in the Shell. We're doing it Sunday morning because we're doing a Sunday morning stream for that one. And Beasts Up, I'm on every week when Platoon isn't sick as their producer. So you can catch me at those places.
Cool. And today's featured guest, Reaper. It's early in the morning there. I know you're probably going to put on your keks and go get some bevies.
It's 1:30.
1:30. Well, thanks for
early.
I know. But thanks for coming on, dude.
The birds aren't even howling. Everyone, even the wolves are asleep.
Yeah. Well, what can we expect from Reaper World on the interwebs?
Well, I've the Rings of Power thing. I was going for just gonna clump it together into like 2 videos, like part 1, part 2. So idea. 4 episodes here, 4 episodes there. I'm still going to do the boys, which I still haven't got round to. Which is
I'll be keen to hear your take because I think the boys gets a little bit behind. I've been
deeply negative.
Well, that's on brand. But yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been great. And what a cool live stream. It's just been really fun. Just had a good blast hanging out with you dudes. And so just remains for me to say, Kakitiano, and I'm going to do the thing where I'm not going to leave everyone hanging, staring blankly at the screen, awkwardly half smiling while the thing goes out. So I'm going to play the brand while we go out. So yeah, thank you everyone, and good night or good morning wherever you are in the world.